the breakfast and the EOM, you'll want to join us?
I'm going with you.
Yep. So you were, I mean,
Yeah.
on the EOM, and then we got the, what you call it, 11:30, and then I've got an appointment with, Skimron? Skimron?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you the appointments with that later.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, but I will be here.
Okay.
All right, let's see, we're gonna go back and,
Make a motion to go back into regular session.
Second.
Not on my page. Okay, motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Deloach, to go back in executive session, regular session.
Regular session.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Do you have a motion to approve the executive session minutes from October 16, 2018, and October 24, 2018?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Floyd, to approve the executive session minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And that carries. Is there any other business?
I'm sorry, which minutes did you read from?
Huh?
Which minutes did you say? Did you say November 6th?
I said October 16, 2018, and October 24, 2018.
That's what's on your agenda?
That's what it says.
So there.
Can we just change that motion?
November 6th, yes, sir.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the November 6th executive session minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, the motion's been amended that November 6th and October 24th, and the second has also been amended. The motion to, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it is approved. Is there any other business? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Floyd to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And we are adjourned.
Do we have a confirmation on the baby?
That's number 11. Item number 11, consideration to approve task order number 2018-08 with Ecological Planning Group for NPDES dry weather screening, MS4 inspection, and summary of results for annual report.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. As the county doesn't own the equipment necessary to perform all of the testing required for the NPDES MS4 annual report, task order 2018-08 has been written from the professional consulting services agreement with the Ecological Planning Group. EPG will perform the required testing, inspections and screening and will provide a summary of the results for the fee of $3,950. As the County Attorney has reviewed and approved the task order and funding is included in the current budget, staff recommend alternative number 1. Any questions?
All right, questions, discussions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a few comments. I'd like to see us go with EOM on this. We've had a good relationship with EOM. This year we went down the engineering services contract. They're helping us with multiple contracts that we currently have. To my knowledge, we're satisfied with all we're being provided thus far. And as on item 4, they will already be doing field work to assist with some of these tests. So with EOM doing the field work, I think it would make more sense to have them actually write the report as well. I think that would be more beneficial to have the same company doing that. I'm not sure what would be different. I don't think it was a large difference in EOM's proposal, was it?
For the annual report, EOM, we've already approved them to do the annual report. For the screening and inspections, EOM quoted $6,000 and EPG quoted $3,950. And it has to be done by the 31st of December.
because of the season.
Okay. Well, as I said, just with EOM already doing some of the field work, I just think it would be easier to streamline it and go with EOM.
And what the cost difference?
$6,900, $2,100.
That's almost double the cost, I mean. I agree, but I agree too.
And Jamie, I think one of the other caveats was that because Ecological has done it in the past, and with the short time period that we have to get it done, you know, it'd be kind of like a learning curve for EOM.
We actually received,
received.
we received this quote from EPG back in June or July. It was sent to the previous administrator's email and got lost. So it should have been in process already. And like Stephanie said, it's a very short time frame to get it done. But if the board would like EOM to do it, that's...
I guess, can you speak to EOM tonight? Is that?
And I don't disagree.
Because part of my thought is, I don't want to get a conflict between, if something does come up, if the one who's doing the work, the one who's doing the report says, but it's their fault, it's my fault, you know, it's not, separate those two things is not healthy. Is that something you guys can address, or?
Right. The report is comprised of many different things, and they're all included in the county's stormwater management plan. And what's being proposed tonight is dry weather screening, drafting the actual report, all of the field work. The reporting period does end December 31st of 18. The report's due on February 15th, I believe. But I say that to say this: these are not the only components that need to be done before December 31st. And I think it's going to be a challenge for whoever the team is to get them all done. There has to be some public education events. There has to be information on the website. There has to be handouts. And so some of these may have been done. I believe from reading through the last report that Brian Alderstein, I think maybe was tasked with some of these items. We haven't located all of them. So anyways, I say this to say that I really think you're probably going to need more help than the items that are specifically listed on here. I talked to Chris, I don't know what now, a week or two ago about a Rivers Alive cleanup is one of the tasks that's specifically included in the stormwater management plan. We're trying to help coordinate that as a volunteer event. I think we're suited to try to help put the whole program together. I'll be honest with you, I'm concerned about the deadline, not necessarily about the dry weather screening and not really about compiling the report, but getting all of the components of the report done. Some things had to be done 4 times a year. If they haven't been done, getting them done 4 times a year between now and the end of the year, it's going to be...
Not going to happen. So what I hear you saying, though, is that there's some components that may not be in the quote we have here that you may have to end up doing anyway, which will be some additional cost that's included in your number of $6,000.
No, they are not included in our cost. Some of them we'll help you with. We can help you with out of our engineering. I really would need to work with staff, and I know it's a tight timeline, but I don't know for certain what has been done and what hasn't been done. I know what has to be done from reading the plan. There has to be newspaper articles published. That's one of the 4 time a year things. We found, I think, 2, a gentleman named Brandon who kind of does our MS4 stuff. I believe we found 2 of them so far. You know, we can certainly get a 3rd one in. We are reaching out, not using Effingham County as an example, to find out if extensions are possible. So we're trying to gather information, but I really think at this stage we need to look at the whole management plan, and I really think that, you know, we're probably suited the best to pitch in and try to help you get that moving.
Could you all have $6,000 that you put in as price? And make our decision real easy right now. You're the man?
Yeah. And I don't have these numbers, to be honest with you, in my head that well. I'd have to look at them. I can commit to this. You know, we're here to help you. You know, this plan really is a lot bigger than dry weather screening, the field inspections. There's a whole bunch to it. You know, we'll help you get it done, and you know, can we do it for what we've got included in these items? We'll certainly try. You know, I can say we'll make it the best attempt at that.
Like you said, that there is going to be could be some additional costs if we go with the lower bid. And I'm kind of with Mr. Locher here. I just put a lot of trust in these guys and gals. What they do for us, I know it sounds like a little bit extra, but you're under deadline, somebody's going to pull it all together. And I appreciate you bidding and giving us the lowest price and bringing that to us. But I too, even though it's just 2,000, I'm concerned about changing from someone that seems to have a good perspective on this. You know, obviously Lee's not the cheapest attorney, but he's good, so we keep him, right? No, I'm tired. Don't tell me what I'll say.
No, it's cheap. It's not always the best. That's right.
So anyway, you know, you've got a professional that you appreciate that say that he's going to try to keep all this cost within that $6,000 particularly. And this is some material things you can bring to us. That's just my thoughts. But any other question or discussion? So you want to go with the, what's
If
the,
there's value in the difference, I mean, and I'm not saying there's not.
And
that's my thought, is the values in the difference, but you may not see it this way.
right, that's right. And I'll tell you, and I don't know if you met our marketing director, Bree Thomas. She's got an educational program put together she uses in Richmond Hill. That's the same, you know, one of the BMPs that's in your plan. You know, it's not going to take much effort to convert that, get up here, you know, and I can't stand here without looking at it and tell you we can commit to no additional charge, but I can tell you they'll be minimal. You know, I mean, we'll help get this thing put together, try to put it behind us.
Kind of put it out there. I've been meeting you guys on a regular basis, helping with these projects. Y'all don't build any extra fault. That's part of our public works. I know you didn't see that coming.
Right.
You know, change in administration. They've been really helpful. A lot of extra hours going over projects and helping me bring about speed up and Chris. And that's the kind of advantage I think we get. Professional that's on board. So,
I don't have any problem with it.
so with that, you know, and I'm sure that for $2,000 not going to make a break. So everybody, you want to give me a motion? You want to give a motion for alternative one, or do you want to make a motion to use EOM for the services that have been recommended?
I make a motion to go with EOM for the services that have been recommended.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Kiefer, to go with EOM over the low bidder as our current professional in these areas for the services as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any carries. And then we go to item number 12, which was previously item number 11, consideration to approve number 4, consent to assign of contract forms with Ecological Planning Group for professional consulting services and tasks under 2018-07, 2018-08, and 2018-09.
We'll need to amend this now to show as 3 task orders, because that one was just approved for EOM, the previous one, 2018-08.
So you're moving 2018-08 out.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
needs to be removed. We have a professional consulting services agreement and 2 task orders now in place with EPG, and they've merged with Goodwin Mills and Corwood. As such, I've requested the county assign the aforementioned agreement and task orders to Goodwin Mills and Corwood. The county attorney has reviewed and approved the consent to assignment of contract forms. No funding is required. Staff recommend alternative 1.
Any Yes, good. Maybe an obvious or even a dumb question. Why we not assign this to EOM? Is that?
They're already working on it. These are, the EPG are currently, these are task orders that are in place,
Right, I need that.
and
So it's the same company, just merged with it?
they've merged with it, so that, and
Yeah.
the Goodwin Mills Co. would have become the parent company.
Any other question, discussion?
Do we need another consulting firm?
Well, no,
Or is that
there's,
what we're going to talk about at the end? That was in the consent. Okay.
yeah, because this one, they're
This is something that's already-
It's a contract already ongoing, they just merged it as firm, and that firm to assume their responsibilities.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion is to, or the recommendation is to approve alternative one, board approve the execution of the assignment of contract, DPG, to the professional consulting services agreement and task order.
Make a motion to approve order number 1, second.
Excluding 2018-08. Is that okay? That's your motion? Okay. That's your second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. For the record, that's Mr. Wood and Mr. Kiefer on the first and second. Make this approved. Item number 13, consideration to approve an agreement for environmental consulting services for McCall and Blue Jay Road intersections project from Resource Plus Link Consultants.
The board has a contract in place with Parker Engineering for engineering services for the McCall and Blue Jay Road intersection. The contract was a result of RFP 1925001 and stated subcontracting opportunities to include underground utility location, wetlands and geotechnical services shall be bid out for pricing by the consultant once they've been selected to get the best pricing for the county. Parker Engineering recommends the county engage resource and land consultants for environmental consulting services. The scope is broken down into separate services. At this time, the county only anticipates requiring the wetland delineation service for a fee of $2,800. If any additional services are required, staff will come back to the board for further approval. As the proposal has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney and funding is available in the current budget, staff recommend alternative 1.
Questions or discussion? Motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second. Motion by Mr. Lowe, second by Mr. Lowe, to alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Any carries. Number 14, consideration to approve an agreement with geotechnical evaluation services for the McCall and Blue Jay Roads intersection project and Whitaker Labs Incorporated.
Parker Engineering, for the same project, Parker Engineering recommends the county engage Whitaker Labs for geotechnical evaluation services for the fee of $2,640. The proposal has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney. Funding is available in the current budget. Therefore, staff recommend alternative 1.
Appreciate you abbreviating that. Any question, discussion? Motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Kiefer. For alternative number 1, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
I want to abstain from voting on this one, if it's going to Georgia Call.
Okay.
My boy.
So you're recusing yourself?
Yeah.
Step back. Is that okay? Stays up here?
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's what my
Turn your chair around.
All right, considerations, number 15, consideration to approve the first reading of ordinance, lowering the speed limit on Old Augusta Road Central from State Route 275 to the property line of Georgia Power Plant, McIntosh.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we received a letter from the plant manager, Mr. Mott, on behalf of Georgia Power requesting that the speed limit be lowered. It's the area at the property line where they enter into Plant McIntosh there, out to Ebenezer Road. So it's just that small strip from 55 to 45 miles an hour.
You can't already get up to 55 miles an hour before you get there.
Be surprised.
They do.
Staff recommends approval. This is the first reading. This is an ordinance, so it does require 2 readings.
So this is the first reading, and we have a question and discussion. We have a motion for alternative number one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one. Second. That's what it is, I don't care.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, I think I heard a second, Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries.
It really only affects the plant and their employees. They're like 95% of the trash.
I know that.
We can start counting.
They see it.
Employees of Georgia Power, get our
Things are
revenue.
out like crazy.
Number 16, appointment, consideration to approve Bruce
Yeah.
Pitt, Department of Family Children Service Board for the first district.
Mr. Peck currently sits on this board. His term did expire in June of this year. It was brought to my attention by the administrator of DFAX. This is a term of 5 years. His term, if renewed, will go through June 30th of 2023. This is an appointment by Commissioner Floyd, and it is my understanding Mr. Peck wishes to remain on the board. Staff recommends approval.
We have a motion, alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one. Second.
Motion, Mr. Floyd, second, Mr. Kiefer, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Number 17, consideration to approve to appoint members of the Industrial Development Authority Board.
Okay, the terms of the 5 seats appointed by the commissioners will be up December 31st of this year. Each member on the board is a reappointment with the exception of the 3rd district. This will be an appointment for Mr. Jacob Lane.
He's already on the board, isn't that
He's
right?
for Springfield now.
You don't spray few.
So he'll be representing the 3rd district if this is
Okay, so let me go appoint someone else from their side. Okay.
Staff recommends approval.
All right, any questions, discussions? Alternative one is to approve the list given to you, I believe.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lewis for alternative one, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And carries. And number 18, consideration to approve to submit a list of candidates for the 3rd district to the hospital board.
If you recall, back in August, you approved a list of 3 individuals to be presented for consideration of appointment to this board. Since that time, Dr. Goldwire has elected to be on the foundation board with the hospital, which makes him ineligible for the hospital board. So we need to submit another name. That seat is for the 3rd district, and the recommendation from Commissioner Deloach was Mr. Troy Allen. So Mr. Allen's name, along with the 2 prior names, will be resubmitted to the hospital for consideration on that board.
Okay, alternative one is to submit Troy Allen as one of the 3 candidates. Did you want to include alternative one and resubmit the other 2?
Yes, sir, we can.
You don't have to do it.
We don't have to.
Okay. So alternative one is just to submit Troy Allen with the other 2. There's a motion for alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And carries. And then move to what was a consent order number 19. Number 1 on the consent order. Consideration to approve to allow on-call surveying services contract with Coleman Company Incorporated, Hussey, Gary Bell, and EMC Engineering Services to renew for 1 year.
Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. In order to standardise and lock in rates for surveying services that cannot be self-performed, the county has 3 on-call surveying contracts in place with Coleman Company, Hussey, Gay Bell, and EMC Engineering. The contracts run from December 13, 2016 to December 13, 2017, with 3 additional 1-year terms upon mutual agreement. The contracts will have a 7-day termination for convenience clause. As the agreements have all been previously approved by the county attorney and all 3 companies have indicated they would like the contracts to remain in place, staff recommend alternative 1.
Now, the contract are in place, but did I see they're increasing their rates?
No, there's no increase.
Okay.
I don't know. Does
So
that mean?
I thought I saw that this gave got a 16 rate, and I thought that I saw some rates that were higher than that in the very first part of it. Am I looking wrong?
No, it should be the exact same contracts that have been,
And I don't know that we need to use these contracts.
we haven't used them for the last year, but
That was my next question, who we use, because the Coleman seems to be lower than the other rates anyway, and I want to make sure we try to use the lowest one first. We would do that, wouldn't we?
What we do is, or what we have done in the past is, whenever we need these services, instead of having to put out a bid for them,
Right?
we send them to these three companies, and then whichever one comes in the lowest for that particular project, we use them. So we don't have to
You
keep.
answered my third question, because I know one may take 4 hours at principal's rate, one may
Yes.
take 2 hours, so you're actually, all right.
We did put out a bid for these services back in 2016, and these were the three lowest that came
I
back.
just want to, I was really monitored, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So alternative one is being motion alternative. Yeah, we don't have alternative one, do we? Just consent order. So how are we going to work this? A motion to approve Coleman Company and Hussey Gay and Bell and EMC Engineering Services to do their contracts for another year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Any carries?
Was that alternative one?
No, there's no alternative because it's consent order. The motion was to approve Coleman.
Yes.
Huh?
You're working
Oh,
on their
second
alternatives.
part, there's a,
Oh, I didn't look at that. I just assumed that the consent order was to approve all of them. I would have thought.
Consent agenda?
Consent-
We pulled it off, it's a regular item. it's on the
Correct.
consent agenda.
I got you. I should come back and look. So, Mr. Deloach made the motion, and we'll make it for alternative one. Is that okay?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
And the second, is that okay?
Second, yes.
Okay, so amending the motion for Mr. Deloach, Mr. Whipper, to approve alternative one. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Any carries? All right. So item number 20 now. Number 2, the consent agenda, consideration to approve to renew the professional service agreement with Ecological Planning Group for consulting services for January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. This is the follow-up to the contract we was working on, right?
Yes, we have, we're asking for this to be renewed because we do have the two task orders still active that are written from this agreement.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't use EOM since we just changed them to finish out the?
These are two different task orders. These are already in process. 2018-07 and 09. Those have been previously approved.
Now, this is a new contract, January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. Is that right?
To allow it to renew for another year. It's a consulting, there's no fee. It gives us a set fee for
I'm just
services.
asking why we need to renew it with them. Did EOM give us a price on it?
No, these are because we have two active task orders written from this agreement.
Okay. So there's work carried over to this year?
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
So the order, this just cleans that up, because this allows her to continue those two task orders.
Yeah, the task orders are for,
17, 19?
I don't actually have them here, but 2018-07 and 09.
I think that was item 11,
Yeah, okay.
because we had to flip them.
All right. I was trying to see if we could use EOM if possible, but.
Yeah, these are already in place, and it is for the similar, it's stormwater work that they're doing, but it's in process, so.
All right, any questions or discussions from the board? Okay, so we have alternative one.
Which one to approve order number one?
Motion by Mr. Whipper, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Roach, approve alternative one. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one is a meeting, number 21, consideration to approve the council for January 1st, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting. I would like the board to consider, because it will be 30 days between that date and our next meeting in January, which I feel like is a long time, but we've got some things that are going to come up that we're going to need to address. I would like to, in addition to that request, canceling that meeting, no one wants to go to the first, maybe have a meeting on the 3rd, that Thursday. That gives us Tuesday, New Year's Day, Wednesday, to recover from New Year's Day, and then show up on Thursday for any items that we're going to have. And I think we're going to have 2 or 3 things we're going to need to address. thoughts.
So just change it to, instead of doing away with it, just have it Thursday.
Yes, sir. Change that meeting date to January 3rd. Anybody, any concerns about that?
We need it on
You can always call a special call meeting if you need it,
We don't,
whatever time.
can we cancel a meeting though if we call? My question is, if we don't plan it, I don't know that it'll happen. I know we've got some discussions about service delivery, we've got some other discussions we need to have. I'm just not sure that, I feel like we're gonna need that meeting. We're not gonna be ready at the December meeting. One of the things we gotta do is an RFP, we're gonna talk about at staff meeting, at the staff reports for the mediation with the Parkway. And they want us to be done with that by February 1st. We're not gonna be done, but we need to get started. So we gotta get it bidded, we gotta get it approved. And if we wait, it'll be approved at the very earliest at the 18th, and then it'll have to go to a signed contract, something, they won't even start at the 1st. So I just,
I just think it's a great time to kind of give staff a little bit of a breather. I sure think Stephanie needs one. But I get what you're saying, but it's a great time, it's a great time to just,
One, like Stephanie said, I mean, that doesn't matter to me.
well, can we do this, because I don't want to be, but can you ask the board to leave that date available? So that we can at least get a quorum, should we have to address some of these issues?
I'll certainly be available. I'm definitely available.
Let's ask the board if you would mark your calendar for a possible call meeting, and if we don't have things ready, don't need it, then we won't meet. But if we've got it,
That's all right.
Got my word.
I go along with that.
okay, that agreeable? All right, so with understanding, we're gonna mark our calendars and hold that open. I'll entertain a motion to, which I guess is alternative one to council, January 1st, 2019. Have a motion?
Make a motion to go on one.
Mr. Floyd, second, Mr. Welch, for alternative one, which is to cancel the January 1st, 2019 meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any carries.
Put it on the calendar, so I don't go off anywhere.
Okay, we're moving to staff reports.
Just to kind of talk a little bit more about the sewer one more time. Michael at EOM has presented a list of repair items that will be needed to be done at the sewer plant, and it comes out, I believe I forwarded that list to you all, it comes out to around $300,000. And we can use some of that's critical, some of it's very critical kind of repairs that need to be done. And we want to look into using the bond money for that. The bond money does not specify that it can be used for repairs per se. But Christie has checked with our bond attorney, and we can move it from one account to the other. So Michael and Christie and me have been working on moving some money around that we think won't be needed in the future, some extra money in some other categories. So that is coming up, and probably the next meeting we'll want to address that and make a budget amendment and make the motion that to use that bond money for this $300,000 of repairs. The other thing is, as you mentioned earlier, on the Parkway project, the critical path next is to get the archaeological phase 3 report done. We're waiting to hear from our consultant, our engineer Moreland, Actabelli, and GDOT to finalize the scope of work required. As soon as we get that, we're ready to ship that out. We've got a list of qualified vendors that meet that qualification, and we will start that RFP as soon as we get it, and expect to hear back from it in short order, and hopefully y'all can approve going forward with that as soon as possible. This is going to be the key thing to get done and keep the Hartwell project going. Coastal Engineering is supposed to have their engineering report and final traffic study done by the middle of December. So that's something that's coming up. That's for the light, stop-go light down here at the ballpark. They're looking at a stop-go type signal where when you're making a left turn, you have a caution light. When the queue, the lane fills up, the light turns green for you to turn left, and it'll turn red for the traffic coming from Springfield. So it's kind of a stoplight, but not a true, kind of 24/7 stoplight. It's kind of only when needed stoplight, if you will. It'll probably involve also some lane extensions. We'll have the traffic coming out of the ball field to make only a right-hand turn. Go down there, if you come back to Springfield, yes, they'll have to go around, make a U-turn and come back. But that seems to be the only kind of thing that GDOT will approve is that kind of scheme. That will definitely improve safety down there. So we'll get that final report here in the next week or so. I believe we sent you the LV list or revised LV list. That report, that list is due to GDOT by the end of December. So please look at that. That's probably something we want to at least get the acknowledgement from the commissioners to go ahead and send that list off so we can get that grant started. We should get about $922,000, so 30% match. So the total project would be about $1.2 million. The list has more roads in there than that, and so we typically submit more roads than you need, and then when you get your bids back, you kind of shuffle around and prioritize at that point. And
Is that the big list in our packet? I'm missing it?
Oh, it was emailed to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it.
Under separate.
Okay. We'll make sure y'all have that reviewed.
yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it.
Any questions for Mr. Chris from the Don Board? Okay. Stephanie, you have?
Yes, sir, real quick. In your material folder, you have an update on the financial audit from the finance department. You also have a building department report which outlines permits issued for commercial, single-family residential, and mobile homes. Reminder, Effingham Day is January 28th. I have included the outline of the program for this upcoming year. It's all in one day. So those that are interested in attending, the deadline for hotel reservations is December 28th. From what I understand from Becky, the rooms are going really quickly. So if you all are interested in attending, please let me know. It will be on the next agenda for travel. We're just gonna have swearing-in ceremony on December 20th at 5:30 for Commissioners Kiefer, Roach, and Burdette. It will be at the Judicial Complex this time, not at the Historic Courthouse.
Are they having a judicial complex? Any reason?
They were wanting to do it because one of the judges is also being sworn in, and they just want to do it over there.
Okay. The old courthouse is pretty, it's a little different place.
I understand.
You know, do we do something here as well, or is that it? Is that the,
That's it.
that's one thing?
So we get a new courthouse system.
The new courthouse.
Judicial complex.
They do a reception, families and
Right.
friends.
Is it the last one? I couldn't be able to do some kind of thing here ourselves as well.
If you want to, we can. That's not a problem.
Now, we'll just join, celebrate our elected officials over there.
Recognize them.
All
We'll
ran
recognize.
unopposed. They must be doing a good job. They all ran unopposed.
Yeah. We don't need more than that.
Bunch of smart people around.
Anything else from Stephanie?
That's it, sir.
Any questions or comments from Stephanie? Okay, any reports from the rest of our staff? All right, how about from our commissioners, Mr. Loper, do you have anything for us?
We still need striping on Old Augusta Road. I swear you can't see it at night. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's really unsafe to go on it from.
Is that on our big list?
Pardon?
Striping Road, Lester Road, is that on our big list?
It's not on there.
Does anybody know?
It's in bad shape. We've been harping about it a long time, but
I don't have anything here to answer.
We're meeting tomorrow, maybe we can look at that. We're meeting again tomorrow.
Just add it to the list.
Yeah, we're gonna
Just
just
not Old Augusta
look at some
Road.
areas and go over some, we'll make that one of our topics, we'll look and see how we can deal with that, okay? Maybe we can do a report.
I can keep it.
He brought it up before,
Yeah,
and I
they
brought it
know.
up.
All right. Mike's got a note, we're gonna review that tomorrow and see what we can come up with. Anything else, Mr. Webb?
That's all.
Exit issues in the morning, 7:30. Just want to bring it.
Air conditioning in the
Good morning. Is that what-
Yeah.
I thought that was last. Oh, never mind. Good Lord. I'm thinking it's the middle of December.
You turn it on.
Never mind.
We're full day tomorrow, agent issues and EOM and 11 and
It's
1.
11 or 11:30.
11:30, 11:30. That's here. All right.
That's all I have. I don't have anything else.
Just keep it.
I don't, one thing came up on, and it came up after one of our previous items. Are we covered on the IDA appointments? We're supposed to appoint those by militia districts.
Yes.
Are we covered on that? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't mention that when we were doing
They
it.
have a little outline on there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Good.
I wonder what that even meant. I saw militia districts, but I didn't show my agent time what militia district is. So in case we have that one between, part of the county.
It can't be changed easily anyway.
No, condition, yeah. I saw it been in a long time. You can't, no, you can't change it.
Anything else, Mr. Keeper? Mr. Fuller?
I had a request from a subdivision, they want to know about putting in speed bumps. And of course, we take over the roads of these subdivisions, but I'm afraid what we're going to run into is, and this is what I discussed with the citizen, you know, few people want it, but a lot of people are like, I don't want that. So have we ever put speed bumps in?
Well, we have, we've kind of by policy not done that because I know first responders and all, they don't like it. It's a hazard, you know, as far as, I don't know if it's levels on there, but I know Wanda at the time, it was an issue and we've always steered away from it.
And I think it's just one of those things that someone, if you do it, someone like it, some.
Something I thought of, if it was an intersection, or, you know, you could do a pedestrian crosswalk, and you could put those little stop signs, so it gives the impression it does slow people down. I thought, just, it's something I didn't think about.
Some of these neighborhoods where there's just one main entrance, the people in the front have most of the traffic, and the people in the rear in a hurry to get home.
Yeah. So it's an issue.
It's a law enforcement issue.
If there's another
Yeah.
intersection, like Mr. Keeper said, I've seen cities do that, or put stop signs.
Just halfway, just pull a pedestrian crossing and put those, you know, those little stop signs that say about state law, you know.
It makes
It
it.
does slow traffic down without any kind
I
of.
would probably ask them to have their HOA, poll the community,
Yes.
and then make a presentation to us and request something like that.
And where is this located?
South end.
All right. Nobody else has anything? I've got a couple items I'll try to be quick on. One is, we need to look at the Grandview property, and we need to get that sold, something done with it anyway. We've already asked, the attorney has ruled that we can put an RFP out for someone to help us sell it. How does the board feel about allowing Chris to go ahead and finance to put an RFP out for agents to give us information about their experience, what they do in other states, whatever, and see if we can find someone to help us turn that property. It's a huge asset that can help us do a lot of these boosters and roads and water upgrades that we need. Everybody give it that?
Yeah, we were going down that road, I think, because I think there was a House bill that passed in the last session that made that.
He's given some, he did the check on that, so he could do this. So,
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
good.
is that's the property IDA is asking that they receive? I think.
no.
That's
So
another.
This is the Grandview, it's like 400 acres, about 340 uplands that we have owned for several years. We can just ran water to it and sewer, and we would like to advertise it, that got water and sewer, and somebody that could draw up some possible designs of how it could be used with maybe industry in the back, high bluff for residential or commercial, just somebody that can show us how to market it, how to turn it, and has a way to present that. I know there's shows all around the country that they go to, and they market these properties for outside of just industrial, they market it for residential and commercial, these companies do.
There's another one that's actually on the IDA website that they're marketing. I thought that was
They,
it.
It may well be on there.
they may mark, but they don't own it, it's our property. So they probably got listed as an economic engine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's listed.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question too, when you get through. McDonald's was gonna buy some property up there, at the new ballpark one time, and they didn't want it. And what was we gonna sell that for? I mean, is it for sale too? The parcel on the front?
I don't recall, I don't know if you.
All of, yeah, I mean, that's something we could probably lump in, you know.
Somebody in the real estate asked me about it the other day. I said,
So
well,
We had 3 lots up there, I think. I think we did have 3 lots.
huh?
I think we had 3 lots up there.
But McDonald's, we settled with a price of McDonald's and they turned us down because, they agreed to it because they wanted a traffic light out there. It's cool with it,
I don't know, we probably need to reserve that for property and executive session, just so we don't get a false number out there or something. But,
Well, I'm just, yeah.
But you just recommend that maybe look at, include that in the RFP, we have properties that we want to sell, and we might list 340 something plus acres, plus these other acres. Is that something we can do? Get help with all of it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So that was the idea of the.
Yeah, but we got those lots, we need to sell them.
Could y'all work to put an RFP together for us to sell, to promote the intent of selling properties that we own, like the Grandview property and the lots in front of our recreation
The
property?
one for Grandview Track, I already have that, I have that written already, I did send it to Steve and got for his approval for a real estate agent. Can you
Okay.
do that?
Yeah,
So that one is in
shoot it
place.
to maybe each of us.
I would shoot it to Lee to verify against,
Yeah.
that bill to make sure we're complying with how because there were some stipulations on how to proceed with that.
Yeah, once you look at it first, then you put it on to us to review. Okay.
And the McDonald's property, we still have money from the company, the earnest money that they gave us, so we need to look into how we're going to deal with that.
Okay.
The company that was
They
going to
give us some earnest
buy
money?
the property.
All right, let's discuss that in executive session, and come back together at another meeting, because there's nothing we're gonna sell tonight.
Yeah.
That's a good point that you bring up. Okay,
Over on Old River Road, between Van Road, right next to the property that we took in front of all those folks back there, are vans, they own that. There's a strip of property between Van Road and Old River Road, it's probably not 50-foot wide. Mr. Van wants to purchase that. I don't know what we would ever do with it, but it's just property that is sitting there. He doesn't want to cut it, he wants to keep it wooded. He would be interested in that property if we want to dispose of it. I don't think he's anything to do with it, other than just leave it there. But he asked me to.
you sure it's not gonna right away?
I don't know, I just told him I would look into it, or we'd look into it and see if it's something we can dispose of. I don't know how wide it is, and you're right, it may be part of the right of way. He just doesn't want us to go in there and clear those trees and so on.
Yes, because some people are.
Years ago, when we started that project over there, he came to every one of the meetings we had. He was right
He
here.
would call me.
He was right here every night. We was talking about that.
And the other thing, at the roundabout over there at, Road 275, it seems like they'll work a while and quit. Who's running that show?
State range.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
It's state route.
That's DOT.
But I noticed that too, I don't know what.
Yeah, they're working there a while, and then they'll up and move, and then they'll come back.
The next step meeting, the transportation, the TAP meeting, whatever it's called.
Oh, Augusta, you said?
Transportation,
275, what about one ranking?
Should be on the fifth.
Seems like they got canceled recently.
Yeah.
We got
The one in December.
DOT has people there, Wesley, on the next transportation advisory meeting, and that's something we asked with DOT.
Okay, that's all I got.
I got one item I want to talk to you about, service delivery. As as you know, last meeting, I think we approved an amendment to the service delivery, possible amendment to add an economic development sheet. We actually approved on 11, is what we approved, to support Springfield in their endeavor to go for a grant. When they applied for this grant, they came up with the fact that they were not on the economic development sheet as a community providing economic development, as a government providing that. So they're not going to be able to approve the grant. So he called me and said, we got a problem because we don't have a current service delivery on record with DCA other than 1999. The only one we've got is 1999. We did go through negotiations, or I say you guys did, that was before I came on, even with working the Rankin Northern Commission in 2009. There was negotiation and there was a consent order that was given. And that consent order was adjusted a little bit in 2011 negotiations where everybody signed off on a stipulation agreement that the judge agreed to. So we're in a consent order, which has kept our local government status and kept us from losing our right to get permits and our litigating monies. Now, no counties and cities that have lost litigating monies because they don't have a service delivery. And theirs is only 3 years out of date. Ours is almost 9 years out of date, but the consent order has protected us. So two things I want to recommend to you tonight. In your packet, they printed it for you. I took the time this past week, I took Thursday and Friday, and I made this commitment to Brett. I was going to try to help him out, and it might help us out as a county as well. And I went ahead and prepared all the DCA forms, the way they should be prepared to comply with what we're doing right now. I'm giving it to Stephanie and you to look at. I'm asking them to recommend if you want to start looking at this. These forms that I have filled out would make us, I believe, comply, given the Brett to review as well. I'm going to go back over and I've got a fresher mind. It would not change anything we're doing right now. The stipulation agreement that's attached to it, I cleaned it up to take away the things that we've already performed or are no longer applicable. Okay? So trying to make it where we could put this with DCA and actually have a service delivery document that's legal that all the cities in the county will sign. And that makes it similar to, in my opinion, with a mute and void if we sign a current service delivery agreement. Now, I've spoken with the mayor of Rankin, I've spoken with the mayor of Guyton, and obviously I've spoken with Brett at Springfield, because the issue is he can't send an amendment to a contract we don't have. Follow me? He can't amend what's not there. So I've included a sheet of economic development for the city of Springfield as well, so that'll solve his issue. You won't have to amend anything. If we approve this, I'm going to recommend we come back to the table because I want to relook at recreation, I want to relook at fire, I want to relook at water, sewer, and roads, and all these things we want to relook at, okay? I'm going to suggest we don't look at it as this, but we understand that we would come back in March and address those issues. Now, the question is,
Yeah, planning or agreement that we would.
an agreement that we would come back with it, but we could get an agreement signed, we could do that if you want to, but I was going to give you some comfort levels. We can bring everybody back to the table. They won't have a choice. There are 6 triggers in the statute, just because that's first president. I wasn't guaranteed they're going to come back if we get an agreement and we locked in for 10 years. No, because one of the triggers that requires you to come back at the very least is every time you redo your comp plan, you've got to review and revise this agreement. Okay, you can sign the same agreement, you can say it's good as it is, but you got to review and revise it. So if we didn't like it, we can bring everybody back to the table at the very latest June 30th. However, there's a couple other triggers that are in there that I believe would apply, that we can bring them back to the table mandatorily. And there's one trigger that says you can come back by agreement with the other cities, affected cities. We really only have one affected city, and that's Springfield, because they're the county seat. They have 9,000 population of the affected city, and 50% of the unaffected cities. I believe I've got the mayor of guidance support. I think I've got some mayor of Rankin support. All I need is one of those to do it by voluntary. Does that make sense? So we could issue a letter February 1st saying, chairman and support of the board of commission and the county seat, Mr. Alderman, and the mayor of guidance are requesting to have the official meetings required by statute 3670-2. Okay? And they got to come to that show up. So my point is, we can bring it back up to the table. But this will get it where when we apply for these programs, that's, should somebody figure out this consent order, probably shouldn't be good for 9 years. We might have that, my concern is one day, they're gonna say that consent order is no longer in play. I don't know if that happens or not in the real world. But we're gonna be applying for permits, advancing our wastewater, our water. We don't want to run the risk of losing our local status. So I want you to review this information. My hope is to bring Springfield, Guyton, and Lincoln, and Effingham together in the next 2 to 3 weeks and explain the same thing to them that their attorneys have looked at it. And hopefully we can just sign this and we can file it and have a document that's current. Does that make sense? So we can look at it, any questions, we'd like to look at it with you. We can discuss it at our next meeting. But that's one reason I took you might call. We have been waiting to sign it to help Springfield be able to apply for that grant. Okay?
We can definitely call them people for that.
Yeah. We're working on a lot of projects, but it's late, some of them go this night. I'm meeting with them again tomorrow. And maybe we can have some more time, but the next meeting will be able to shorten it, give some project updates. There's some exciting updates on our projects, but we'll look at that later. Any other comments from the commission? I talked to the attorney, said we do not need executive session. Does anybody else want one? Oh, we do? Okay. I'm just going to have a need for executive session. Do I have a motion to go to executive session, discuss pending litigation personnel and whatever else?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach. Second by Mr. Weather, go to executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. We're in executive session.
And we quit.
Okay, that's good. Let's get it.
Quickly.
It's 5:02, Mr. Chairman.
That clock is through.
Yes, sir.
We're going to call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners meeting for December 4th at 2:08. It is 5:02, I understand. I'm asking everyone to please rise for the invocation. And then before just a minute, if you rise, and we'll let Skip introduce our guest tonight, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance immediately after the invocation.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, please be with us this evening and help us to do your will. Thank you for your many blessings. Dear Lord, we ask that you please be with the victims of our recent natural disasters. Please be with them and their families. And dear Lord, please be with our world leaders at this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Chairman and board members, tonight we have Ms. Ellie Watson, who is a 9th grade 4-H member. She attends Effingham County High School. She serves as the chair of member services and is on the 4-H leadership team. Ellie is an active 4-H member who stays involved in 4-H programs on the county and district level. Ellie is also a Georgia 4-H certified team leader. Ellie, if you will step to the mic and lead us in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We want to thank you for your participation tonight in the pledge and for your service to the school. That's excellent. And if you get too bored, you decide you need to step out and go study, we understand that as well. But you're welcome to stay to the end. First item on our agenda tonight is the approval of resolution to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to address the consent agenda?
Yes, I do.
You want to add those items as
Would this be the perfect time to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the consent agenda, I'd like to, someone make a motion, and in that motion, to make a motion to move consent agenda items to items we need to move to the end of the agenda to do that, or can we?
Yes, sir, the end of new business.
So if someone make a motion to approve the agenda, we'll move the consent agenda to items 19, 20, and 21.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'm sorry. There are some other changes on the agenda.
Okay.
We can
So
do.
that's the first part of the motion, to move that 19, 20, 21, what's the other change?
So all items under consent, you want to move to new business?
Correct.
Okay. All right. The other changes are new business number 5 and new business number 6. These are items related to the tax assessor's office. Ms. Janice Bell called earlier and asked that we table these items until the December 18th meeting.
Okay, that's good, because I have questions, so we're going to take it. So the motion would be for Mr. Roach to approve the agenda, with tabling items 5 and 6, and adding the consent agenda to items 19, 20, and 21.
And one more again. Okay, under new business, number 11 and 12, we just need to reverse the order for those. The task order under number 12 needs to be approved before the contract under number 11. We just need to reverse the order. That's everything.
That's it.
That's it. All right, so we need a motion to approve the agenda with the tabling of items 4 and 5.
5 and 6.
Oops.
That's like a new business?
New business
Business,
number
5 and 6, yep, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the following changes. Move the items under consent agenda to new business number 19, number 20, and 21. And then table under new business items 5 and 6. Table those two items till December the 18th. And item number 12, 11 and 12 will be reversed in order on new business. So we will discuss item 12 first before 11.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion, Mr. DeLoach, second, Mr. Floyd, to approve the agenda with the changes so stated. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And carries. Next item is consideration to approve the minutes of the November 6, 2018 regular commissioners meeting. I have read those minutes. They appear to be an accurate rendering of the meeting that evening. Is there any corrections or additions?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second, Mr. Kiefer, to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that carries. Oh, we have one abstaining? Mr. Reggie's abstaining. He was not there for that meeting. He was in the absence. Okay. All right, so we welcome our public tonight. We got a good crowd, so we must have some interest in some part of the agenda tonight. Appreciate you being here. Please, if you have comments about agenda items, address the agenda items. If we have other things in the future, we'd be glad to consider for the agenda item. You can make comments, if you can limit to 2 or 3 minutes, that will allow others who need to speak to that agenda item to have ample time to speak as well. All the documents of this meeting can be found on our website in my clerk's office, and I hope you've had a chance to review those and prepare for this evening. So with that, we have time to move into, it's a little early, is our first presentation from Paul Christian here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Paul Christian. I'm with the Robert Civil Engineering, and I'm Director of Municipal Consulting. Tonight, I've brought the owner of our company here, since this is our first visit with you, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Jonathan Roberts.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Jonathan Roberts, the owner of Roberts Civil Engineering, and it's really an honor to be in front of you tonight. We've had the privilege of working with your county on some of the fly ash road investigation to come up with a viable solution for those roads. And that really fits in with our mission at Roberts Civil Engineering, because our mission is to make our clients succeed. And we really think that this particular item that you're facing is something that we can help you guys succeed with. We also value common sense solutions. And I think after you hear from the other guys tonight that you're going to agree that this is a common sense approach to solving what has been a lingering item on the fly ash roads. So without further ado, I'll turn it back over to Paul, and he'll tell you a little bit about how this was brought about. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Commissioners, I'd like to just step back a little bit and tell you what brought all of this on and the reason we're standing here tonight. A few months ago, I spoke with Steve Davis, your previous county administrator, and during the conversation we were talking about problems that y'all faced as a county commission. And one of the issues that he felt very strongly about was the roads. And of course, being a previous county manager, I could understand that. And he started explaining about the fly ash roads or coal ash roads, whichever you call that. And so I asked him if we could, as a company, if Effingham County would allow us to do a little investigation, a little research, and see what we could do to maybe help you with this problem. We didn't know whether we could solve it or not, but that's sort of the mantra of our company, is we like to help cities and counties and see if we can solve problems. So I called Steve, and he called me back and he said, yeah, you can do that. So I said, well, where am I going from here? So I have a friend that was in the striping business, the road striping business, and I called him and we had a conversation. I said, do you know anybody that knows a lot about roads and fly ash? And because there's very few people that know very much about it. And I talked to some other contractors, and I think y'all used some of them, Mr. Littlefield, which I really appreciate him and like him a whole lot. And he said, well, we did some work over there. So I got to talking to my friend, and he turned around and introduced me to Bill Evans with the Ergon Corporation. And I come to find out that that's one of the largest emulsions companies in the United States. And so I said, well, does he know what he's talking about? And he said, yeah, if he doesn't know, nobody knows. So anyway, we came up, Bill met me up here, and the Ergon company flew their chemist in, and I knew that everybody was serious when they flew him in, and he met us up here on the road that we picked out. One of our employees with Robert Civil Engineering lives here in Effingham County, and so he met me out there and showed me this road, and we got the DOT over here, and they got their core machine, and your guys helped us, the road department guys came out and helped us, and we took 20 core samples on this road, and also 2 buckets of sand on the shoulders, because they told us, well, you got to have some of that too. So we took all of those 22 buckets of earth and sand and shipped them to Mississippi to their lab. And so then I stepped out of the picture and said, guys, can you come up with a solution? If you can, you'll be the only ones in the United States that knows how to do this. So without further ado, I'll introduce one of my project managers, Jeff Boers, who's going to introduce you to the expert, the guy that knows how to do this stuff. Jeff?
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to be here tonight. I just really wanted to sum up the program. I'm a project manager with Robert Civil Engineering. I spend a lot of time in the field. And basically the fact of the matter here with this situation, that fly ash is not a stable base for a road. It's not a base for a road. A typical road section basically has 3 layers. It's got a compacted dirt subgrade, a compacted rock or crushed concrete base, and then a surface, whether it be asphalt or concrete or chip seal or whatever it might be. Your roads that we're discussing here tonight have fly ash mixed in with that base, and it's just not a stable compound. Any road expert like Jonathan Roberts, a professional engineer, or Bill Evans will tell you that no matter what surface is used, if the base is unstable, the road just simply will not last very long. You'll experience things like cracking, washboarding, potholes, sinkholes, and certainly we see things like that. In investigating the mitigation for the problem, resurfacing the roads is not going to solve anything, as we've established. Really the only other, one of the other solutions would be to excavate the roads. To excavate the roads, remove the surface, remove the base, material and haul it away. That would be certainly an extremely costly option. We believe that we have come up with a solution that's cost effective and that will last for the long term, that does not involve hauling away the base on these roads. And I'd like to turn to Bill Evans, who's a field expert. He truly is a field expert when it comes to roads. He spent 30 years with the Georgia Department of Transportation. He's been in the private sector for quite some time now. He's seen just about everything that you can see, and I'd like to have him briefly explain the process for mitigating the fly ash base on the roads. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bill Evans. I was, prior life, I was a pavement liaison for the Georgia Department of Transportation out of Atlanta. And there I served, went all over the state looking at pavement problems, whether it be concrete, asphalt, or whatever. But one thing in common, I was invited to come out. I'm the technical marketing manager for Ergon Asphalt out of Garden City. We ship liquid out of Garden City, and Ergon is, like I said before, is the largest manufacturer of emulsion. And Paragon is our lab. They come down, we took core samples, and basically what we do down in Paragon, we got a wide array of machinery down there that we can do testing. And whether we could do testing for like I-95, we can take the materials you're using and we can make lab samples, and we run it through testing through different, like loaded wheel rutting or whatever, and we check the material to see how it'll last. We can pretty well predict what a pavement's gonna do 10 years out, whether it's, you know, we can, like I say, make a sample and make it there, we can do the test and we can project it out where this house is gonna perform 10 years down the road. Well, basically, when I went out and looked at these routes, to start with fly ash, if I'm going to look for something to make base to pave on top of, fly ash is not a product that you want to put down as base. I'd be wanting to get some great aggregate base, soil cement, you know, be a good choice down here with the sandy material y'all got. But basically what you got, you know, we're looking at a lot of material. You know, you have your big aggregate, you got your small aggregate, and you got like your sandy looking material that coats aggregate. Basically what y'all got is something that's 50% like airborne material. It's like talcum powder. I mean, it's that fine. So you got one choice. Asphalt is a reflective material. Where you put 3 inches of asphalt on top of it, you're going to put chip seal on top of it, it's going to reflect back whatever you just put it on top of. And you know, I'm looking at them roads out there, it's chunking out, it's coming out in spalls, and plus you get corrugation. Well, you just won't believe how much water that stuff, you know, we got this first thing our lab guy, we brought Mike Hemsley, he's one of our chemical engineers from Mississippi State. Well, he come down and looked at it, and they put it back in the lab, and he's just talking about how much water that stuff soaks up, and that's the reason you're all getting a lot of the corrugation out there. But it's one of them products, when you put it down, it probably should have never been put down to start with. You'd been better off just doing a soil cement, you know, or something. But that's it's kind of one of them products. It shouldn't have been there to start with. But basically what we're doing, we're taking machinery and we're going to take emulsion, and it's going to take more emulsion than normal and mix this stuff together. And You'll come in and it'll mix the chip seal, it mixes all we'll get down into the sand, and what we'll do, we'll put an asphalt, just turn this stuff into asphalt. And we'll shape it back, roll it back down and compact it. Then we'll come back over with a prime coat. Well, that's what we done with all them samples we took out there that day. We went back to Mississippi with him, we tested them, and he come out with a job mix for me. And what it'll do, it'll give you a good base, so either put like a surface treatment back on top of it, or whatever. But I think I talked to some of the contractors that done this years ago, and I think it was, we have a plan to execute to fix this route, a roadway, and but I think years ago, basically what they was out there just, kind of a seat of the pants operation there, just, trying to put the stuff down, and it's just, it don't matter what you put on top of it, it's going, the way it is right now, a couple years down the road, you're just going to get no, you won't ever get no satisfaction out of it. I mean, it's going to bleed right back through.
Do you have lab results now on what you're talking about?
I don't have them with me, but I can get them. It just pretty well the testing what he done with it, and matter of fact, we even went to we had our lab, and we got some folks from down in Florida that deals with a lot of soil cements and all, and let them do some testing on a flash, because it's a newer technology, because don't too many folks put flash, try to make base out of it. And the problem with this flash, I don't know if some other places that produces it, when they do it with the power mills and all, but this here is just particularly fine, real fine material.
You're talking about grinding down to the sand base and then combine it with emulsion? And
basically what happens, this machine is, have you ever seen like a rotomill when they out there digging up the asphalt? This is a machine it looks like great big logging equipment tires on it, and it's got a hose that comes in, and what we do, we pump emulsion into it, and stabilize it. And I think we put like 1% cement back into something, just kind of harden it up. But it'll make when you get done, it'll look like an asphaltic base road. And then we come back and prime it, which that keeps any spread out. And if it's any moisture that comes up through it, it'll seal it off to keep it from getting into to start early delamination, on any of your top lists there.
Well, just a couple of thoughts, and Commissioner has more questions. We probably need to address this outside of this board meeting, so we can get down to the nitty-gritty. We are looking for possible solutions. Much of what you shared with us tonight, we already know. We know it's not a good base. We didn't put it down. We're trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
We know it's got it's an airborne issue, so as we are trying to seal it right now, just for the short term, we know that it absorbs moisture. A lot of what you've told us, we understand and know. The question I would have that we need to look at as a board, because we also looked at removing it. You're right, it's inefficient, costs us millions of dollars to remove it. So we're trying to get a plan in place right now just to seal it for the short term. We realize also, as you just stated, it's not a long-term solution. What we're going to need to understand is what does this cost per mile on taking the emulsions and adding it to this to keep it from being airborne. I'm assuming that's how you keep it from being airborne, because you said we're going to grind it. I thought, man, that's going to be a liability waiting to happen. But I know the process is going to be containing that dust by using emulsions, grinding it up, putting some cement, and making it a better base. It may not be perfect, but it may last 10, 12 years, 15, longer than what this is going to last. But the big question for us is going to be, what's that cost per mile? Then we can look and see what can we do and how much can we do. Do you have that number off the top of your mind?
We do. The preliminary estimates are $250,000 per mile, and the science predicts that it will work, but the common sense approach that we would advocate is to do a 1 mile test section and see how it goes down. You could potentially use some grant money, LMIG money, different sources to do that 1 mile section, but to put it to the real test in the field and see the results of it over a certain period of time, because the science looks positive. The science looks good. The lab results are positive.
Well, that's a lot better number than what we got before, because we got between 350 and 400,000, and it was primarily a cement injection solution.
Yeah.
Right, and so we're confident in the science, but we're also practical, and we would not advise you to do more than 1 mile. Do 1 mile and see how it works, give it a test period, put some heavy loads on it, encourage some truckers to come down and see how it functions.
Yeah, I know they had some coal ash. We don't have the coal ash. We don't have the same issue, so it's not that. It's a fly ash or whatever it is.
Right, fly ash.
So we don't have the contaminants that the others have. Is that correct? It's pretty fundamental. It's not the same in years they had in North Carolina where they had that ash down where it was more issues. Have you done this with ash in another area already?
And so
Had good results with it?
that's where this is new territory. So Aragon came in as the emulsion expert specifically to look at these properties to be able to come up with a mix
Sure.
that they're confident
That's
will
what I
work.
recommend. If we did it, do 1 mile and see, because there's
1 mile.
new technology.
That's right.
I would like to see the information put in a written
Sure.
proposal for us, all commissioners could have it. We certainly would like to consider it. Certainly, we might look at a better base for the roads that are going to be longer term than just the side roads that have cars.
Do we get a marketing break since it's new?
I would think so. You're going to sell this across the country, then you ought to do this about 10% of the cost.
Yeah. In fact, and Paul came to me about maybe 6 months ago and said, Jonathan, we found a problem in Justin Floyd's hometown. Can we spend some time at no cost to the county and look into this? And I said, let's help him. Let's find a solution for this. So yeah, we're glad to help any way we can.
Well, you've done some looking and you've done some analysis of certain roads, identify those roads, what you think it would cost for that particular stretch. I think we'd be happy to look at that proposal. We could prioritize some roads that are going to be longer, that we want to be longer term fixes that have higher traffic or trucks versus other roads that we just seal them and have a few cars.
Yeah.
That may last just as long because we don't need it.
That's a great pragmatic way to go forward. Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
think what test period is probably going to be an extended period. It could be years because I don't know when we'll have another wet winter storm like we had. It could be 3 years.
What happened if we was on a high dry where we didn't have much moisture in the ground? What happened to that lime, it rains a lot, it sucks up all that water, and then you have a big freeze, and it freezes and it just tears everything.
Sure.
If it never did get below freezing, and we keep the water out of it, the ash would be all right. But outside, we can't do that.
Well, and maybe and again, probably is appropriate for another meeting about it, but maybe we do it in a location near some fire hydrants where we can purposely keep it wet and just see and really beat it up for that test period.
I would like to see some lab tests on it, as you were referring to.
So why don't you bring back that information and some proposals and ideas and let us look at that in a workshop over the next 30 to 45 days and maybe we can get back together and see if there's something to work together on.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and for allowing us to investigate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're very welcome. Thank you. We have another presentation from Terry Ducott. That's that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, and the Commissioners, and thank you so much for having us today. My name is Carrie Ducote, and I'm with a national organization called Best Friends Animal Society, and we work with shelters all over the nation on increasing the number of animals that leave the shelter alive. So we've been working with Lorna here in Effingham County for well over a year, probably about 2 years we've been working together. And she has been a really fantastic partner for us in advocating for the people and pets of Effingham County. So I really want to sing her praises and let you guys know that you have a really great director there. Also, I want to talk to you guys about some work that we did there last summer and specifically about a program that we'd like to introduce there. So part of the work that I do is monitor statistics. So in Georgia, we have about a 71% save rate for dogs and cats in shelters here, which is fairly high considering the performance of other states throughout the Southeast. However, in Effingham County, you guys have a 49% save rate for dogs and cats. That means that less than half of the dogs and cats that enter your shelter here leave alive. So there's a lot of potential for work to be done. And again, Lorna is chomping at the bits to get a lot of this work done, and my organization and a lot of organizations locally are excited to work with her on introducing a lot of national best practices to help you here in Effingham County increase that number. So last summer in June of 2017, Target Zero came in and did a complete shelter assessment for Effingham County. They looked at everything, all of the statistics, the intake procedures, the road operations, the way that the shelter is cleaned, the way that adoptions are done, and produced a 45-page report on implementing national best practices here specific to Effingham County on increasing the save rate and helping Lorna help the pets and people of Effingham County more by making sure that more of them are able to leave the shelter without euthanasia. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. So I would like to make sure that you guys have that 45-page report. I'm not sure that it ever made it to you guys, and she has a hard copy of it here, but I'm also going to make sure that you guys get it via email so that you get a chance to peruse it and really look through everything that it says about specific recommendations to the county here. It's going to go over things like managed intake, which is already happening here, and removing barriers to adoption, making sure that everybody who wants to adopt a pet from the shelter is able to. It's also going to talk about a solution for free roaming cats. We call them community cat programs. So in the Southeast, we have a climate that is particularly conducive to outdoor cat breeding. It happens all over. There's cats everywhere. It's true here, it's true in Savannah, it's true in Atlanta, and traditionally, animal shelters have approached the problem of outdoor cats by picking them up and euthanizing them. And we know now, after hundreds of years of data, that that's not an effective way to eliminate the outdoor cat population. What we have found is that the most effective way to eliminate the outdoor cat population is by sterilizing them and allowing them to continue to live where they've lived. So when you pick up a few of the cats and remove them by euthanizing them or moving them to a different part of the county, then you don't address the cats that remain there, and the cats that remain there are allowed to proliferate, and you end up with even more cats than you started with by just removing a few of them and euthanizing them. There hasn't been anywhere that's been effective in picking up and euthanizing all of the cats and handling their outdoor cat population. So these community cat programs where outdoor cats are sterilized and allowed to continue to live where they're living after they've been prohibited from doing any more breeding and after they've been vaccinated, which helps with some public health issues, have been proven. Oh, thank you. I got my water here, it helps my voice. Thank you. So these programs, community cat programs, have been proven to reduce outdoor cat populations. They also help with complaints. So that's the biggest concern that especially commissioners have when I talk about these programs, is that outdoor cats are a nuisance. And there's no way around that. Outdoor cats absolutely are a nuisance. They do pee on flower bushes. A lot of times there's kittens everywhere, and it can be a really big problem for constituents. So we advocate for non-lethal solutions to outdoor cat problems. So for example, we operate a program in Cobb County, and we provide complaint mitigation for anybody who wants to speak with us. So anybody who has an issue with outdoor cats, we go out to their house and we talk with them about the issues that they're having there. We provide them with some deterrents to keep the cats off of their property. Sometimes there's some really easy things we can do, like picking up foods or habitats that they provided for the cats without knowing. And that allows us to solve the problems that they're having with outdoor cats without actually removing the cats. I just want to make sure that I touched on that. So like I mentioned, in Cobb County, we started the program there in 2015. We were able to get their save rate for cats from 60% to 91%. And then in Carroll County, Georgia, which is another county sort of over on the Alabama border, they started the program also in 2015, and their save rate for cats has gone from 43% to 88% in 2017. Additionally, I want to address the financial aspect of these programs. So we have a lot of statistics also that show that it is less expensive to sterilize and return the cats than it is to house them during their stray hold and euthanize them. So these programs also save the county money. Although it seems counterintuitive to invest money in sterilizing the cats, we actually find that it's just a redistribution of resources from staff time and supplies used for caring for the cats and euthanizing them to sterilize and return them. And again, I can send you guys the data on all of this that we found in other counties and the way that it's saved other counties money. So Lorna and Best Friends and some other organizations locally have been working together to put together a plan for a pilot program here in Effingham County. We started a pilot program in Cobb County. It's in the process of being made permanent now. So what we'd like to suggest is that we go through the motions of designing a community CAP program here for Effingham County. And like I said, there's Best Friends and some other organizations locally who are going to work with Lorna on the nuts and bolts details of how this program would work without costing the county any additional money. We'll put it into place, and then after a period that you decide is appropriate, 6 months a year, we'll come back, we'll present the results of our pilot program, and we can talk about whether we'd like to make it permanent or not. And that will involve some ordinance revisions. So I'd like to introduce my colleague, Lisa Barrett, and she is going to introduce herself and talk about it.
Hello, I'm Lisa Barrett. I am the state coordinator for Best Friends over Alabama, but before I became Best Friends employee and staff, I was the director of the Carroll County Animal Shelter for almost 7 years. Like Carrie was saying, is we went from a very high kill shelter, euthanizing about 86 to 89% of every animal that comes into the shelter. When I started, we are now considered a no-kill shelter, and we started this by having the community cat program. It's phenomenal, and it's easy to do, it's easy to implement. A lot of people are afraid to start these, but don't let fear be a factor. When we started it, I was afraid as well, because now everybody wants to complain, but in all honesty, we had less than 1% complained over the last 3 years that we've done this. It's been phenomenal. Working best practices is the best way to save animals, and Effingham County has a phenomenal start on this, and y'all should be proud of the shelter and y'all's staff that y'all have. And Best Friends, we would love to work with y'all and get it to a no-kill by 2025. And I'm also here for any questions, if y'all have any.
Well, we may have to get with our director and kind of look at the information. That's an extensive report, 45-day report. You know, one of the things I want to have, though, if we could, for me, would be references from other counties or communities that have begun this program, and from the administrative side, not the animal lover side, because I appreciate she loves animals. She's got me in my dog, so we're all supportive of that. But an objective look from the administration side of other cities and counties who are interested in this program, they could look at their budgets and see what they actually were. To me, I see a little bit of labor intensive because the cat's got to be handled several times. You go out, you know if that cat's going to fix or not, so you got to pick it up, you got to bring it back. And there's a lot of things that you probably can answer for us. There's things we're going to want to look at before we would, before I would approve joining in that type of a project. So I think information from other communities, the actual cost of euthanizing versus the, that you just mentioned, is about the same cost. Is there any additional labor costs? I know that probably chemicals or the doctors are one cost, but there's other staffing costs as well. So I would say get some more information, get some references, and maybe you can come meet with us and let's look at it, okay? Do you have any questions you want?
No, never has.
Yeah, I'm interested to know more about it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a couple of action points there for you to follow up with. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, we're going to head out because these ladies came from Atlanta and hours away, so I want to get them to their hotel.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Thank you. All right, we move into new business, old business, I'm sorry, public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself, my parents and my sister on property on the next easement on the city property.
All right, if we're going to move in old business item number one, Mr. Roach is recusing himself in the second. And we have a public hearing, and we'll open the public hearing for the planning board recommends approving an application by H. Ellis Wilson to rezone 8.99 acres located at 275 Charles Lane from AR1 to AR2, map number 470, parcel number 3 in the 4th district. Who is introducing that tonight? Ms. Stephanie, you come on that?
It's an old business item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I think we can, I believe there are some individuals here to speak on behalf of it.
All right, we want to review the facts of the case, so we have the public hearing has been open. Is anyone tonight wanting to speak for this rezoning? If you would, just state your name for the record, that would be helpful.
Don Wilson. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to request, as recommended by the Planning Board, the rezoning of said property on Charles Lane into 3 parcels from AR1 to AR2.
Okay. Anyone else this evening wanting to speak for this rezoning? Anyone here tonight wanting to speak against this rezoning? Okay, you come and state your name. Share your concerns.
My name's Bruce Peavy. I am against it for a couple of reasons. This is on the 30-foot easement, and right now there are 13 parcels on that easement. And you know, you start adding more parcels, it's going to put a strain on this easement. And this easement is already, it's a bad easement. I mean, it goes through the swamp itself. I mean, you're going to have another Haddon Lake if you don't watch out, you know, road coming in and out. And I don't know how you're going to pass it, because how does it fall under usable acreage? I mean, it's wetlands. Right now, the river's 13 foot and it's underwater.
Is it lower than the adjacent lots?
I'm sorry?
Is it lower than the adjacent lots?
It is probably one of the lower lots down there, because my lot's still above water now, and all the ones on the other side still. I mean, mine's close, but it's probably one of the lower lots there. And it's more or less covered right now, except for the easement.
All they want from this, on this particular one, old business number 1, is just to change it from AR1 to AR2.
Okay.
And there's no amount of lots specified in this part of it, it's to change it from AR1 to AR2.
So that goes under the easement, correct?
Well, you got the easement coming up on another. But this particular one is just for change from AR1 to AR2.
Can you do that with the easement? With the 30-foot easement?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
It don't matter where it's at, you can change it from all the land in Effingham County was AR1 one time.
Okay.
And so the AR2, all you do is change it. Anything less than 5 acres is AR2.
Okay.
So you can split it up, you know.
Even with the easement,
The easement hasn't got anything to do with changing from AR1 to AR2.
Okay. I understand.
That's a different thing altogether.
Help me with this, Mr. Booker. I think what you're saying is it helps me, I'm not sure out there, this rezoning is one thing, but it doesn't mean that it will be approved for division of lots. That's based on other conditions like easements, soil tests, and
This will come later, and
Right.
I'll bring this up later on.
Okay. So this first item doesn't mean that you can put a certain amount of lots on it unless it passes, is my assumption. Is that correct too, Ms. Stephanie? You want the board to make recommendations regarding the number of lots on whatever may be another item tonight.
Your current request is for the zoning change. That's correct.
Right, but it doesn't guarantee that you have a certain number of lots.
That's correct.
Right.
They want 3. They want to change it to 3, but that has nothing to do with this one. This comes up later.
You might want to address it at that time as far as the other questions. Okay. Anyone else speaking against the rezoning plan?
My name is Jimmy Helmy. I own a piece of property the other direction from this, and I've known these people forever and got no trouble with them. But sometimes you got to stop and think about you and your family. And I bought the property knowing that the easement to get to the other parcels, which is 3 or 4 past my house, which are 5-acre parcels, was there. Once you start dividing, if those get divided, then that would greatly increase the traffic going right in front of my house. And that's the concern I've got. And Mikey said he would help keep the road up, and I don't doubt that. Hadn't anybody else but 2 other people helped keep the road up the 6 years I've been down there. And last year I hauled 160,000 pounds of crushed concrete down there and hadn't made a dent in trying to get the road straight. But the concern I got is once you open the gate, the people past me will want to divide theirs probably, and then that'll just, because this is like from me to field, from the front of my house to the river where the easement goes through. And I knew it was there on the bulk property, but like I said, the only thing, once you start dividing, there's a possibility, it may never happen, but there's a possibility it may increase what's in front of my house. And I'm thinking right now about when I'm dead and gone, I done got to be an old man, and I'm looking out for the kids and the grandkids now. Thank you.
But this property will not go by, this does not go by your property, you go.
No, but once you change the zoning on this so that you can divide it, you're gonna deny the people that's past me if they want to do it?
It's 5 or 6 other properties with potential of.
You know, that's the only thing that gets me, once you start, where is it gonna
We
stop?
divided it so
We can't-
everybody that's down there can have property.
We can't control, changing it from AR1 to AR2. We can't, I mean, there's no, what happens after that is a different story. But changing, they want to change on this particular one, they want to change it from AR1 to AR2. And that's all they're asking for in this one right here.
In the subdividing, it would take meeting some other hoops. Should there be certain.
There's some other hoops they got.
Anyway, y'all just, go ahead and do what y'all want to do. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's additional discussion in subdivision. But I think Mr. Lake is right, as far as zoning, there's.
We don't have, I mean,
Yeah, if it meets the criteria, yes,
it can be all learned.
well, they
it can be
can subdivide it, under that zoning is a different issue.
But anyway,
Yeah.
there's something else showing.
We don't want to address the room. Okay. Anyone else want to speak against the rezoning from AR1 to AR2 on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and see if there's any additional questions or discussions from anyone on the board. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve planning board recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lucas, second Mr. Floyd to approve planning board and staff recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries.
And correction for the record, is it just planning board? It's planning board?
Just planning board.
recommendations?
That's right.
I guess we made a motion to approve it. So we're not adding the staff recommendations. Were they different? I didn't remember.
They're different.
Should we, did you want to look at this staff recommendations?
Yes, no, I did it on purpose.
Okay. All right. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by H. Ellis Wilson to rezone 8.99 acres located at 275 Charles Lane, AR1 to AR2, map 470, parcel number 3 in the 4th district.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Luper,
Second reading.
Second.
second by Mr. Floyd to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. All right, we'll go to item number 3, under public hearings. The planning board recommends approving an application by H. Ellis Wilson for a variance to retain existing 30-foot assessed easement for the minor subdivision of property located 275 Charles Lane, at 470, parcel number 3 in the 4th district. And we'll open the public hearing on this item. Anyone tonight want to speak for this application for this variance?
Don Wilson. Here again, I'm seeking the approval from the Board of Commissioners for the variance, 30-foot, maintain that, retain it. And as far as the concerns that's been mentioned earlier, most of the people that own land down there now, it has done been split. It wasn't a whole lot. I know Bruce Peavy got his because it was split. And I don't see any difference in splitting this one than splitting his to allow him to get it years ago. And as far as the maintenance of the road, years ago, me, my father and grandfather maintained the whole road basically all the way in and out. And he's gonna have some help. Michael Roddenberry's got equipment and he don't mind spending $1. But as far as splitting land down there, most people that's owned land down there now has bought a piece from someone else. And appreciate y'all's consideration.
Anyone else is even speaking for this variance? Seeing none, we'll ask, is there anyone who might like to speak against this variance?
I'm Bruce again. I am against it. Right now, there's 13 lots on that road. And it's 5 or 6 lots that has potential to be split again. These 5-acre lots, when you start splitting this one like 2 acres, I mean, you start splitting these other 5-acre lots, you're gonna have the same problem. I mean, yes, I bought a lot, but mine was a usable lot. I permitted a septic tank on it. And you start splitting these other lots, they are not, quote, a usable lot. They will not get a true septic tank permit when you start splitting them 3 ways. I mean, that's something to think about.
If they can't use it, there's not gonna be that much traffic on it.
Yeah, you say that.
Just access to the river, I would think.
If somebody's got a lot on the river, they're gonna be there. I mean, you know what it's like. So, I mean, I've been keeping the road up with the addition of 1 or 2 other people. I've had it like 18 years. It's like 2 of us keeping the road up. Granted, Mikey may keep it up to that point, but he's gonna be one of the first ones at the end. So that's not gonna help me when other people bypass me and refuse to keep it up. Once you start, it's going to start. I know for a fact that some other ones that's coming right behind us want to do the same thing. So,
Just for information, this road, when it comes off of Effingham Road, which is a county road, that is a private road to the very end of it. And whoever builds down there, they own this private road. It goes through 2 different properties. It goes Bowles Ganan's big field, and then it goes through Charles Ganan's field. And that's probably not but a 30-foot easement, even going all the way through those fields. I don't know what it is, and you might know, but I don't.
It's a 30-foot easement.
It's a private road, and the county has nothing to do with keeping it up.
right. And it's from the county road to my house is 1 mile. 1 mile long of a private easement. And their property is a little shy from it. And it's actually 3 properties before you get to the one to theirs.
So this is an easement of 30 foot, but what is the requirement for an easement to develop property for a road a lot more than 30 foot?
It's
60, that's what.
It's a 60 foot now, according to the county code. I know you can overrule it, but county commissioners may.
That's ultimately the variance is being requested from 60 to 30.
It used to be on a county, if you go off a county maintained road, and you own some property, you could go down and you could have a 60-foot right of way, and you could build 3 houses on that. But since I have been a commissioner, we have did away with that. And a year or so ago, we okayed a 20-foot easement for 2 houses on it. Right there on Savannah Railroad. But anyway, we have bypassed that, and we never had a 20 or 30-foot easement on anything. It was a minimum of 60 feet, and you could only build 3 houses on it. But the county has let that slide by, so that's not even up to date now.
The code's still there, isn't it? Have y'all abolished the code?
Well, I would say this board, I don't know if this board has done that. Have we done that? It means that we did.
Yes.
We granted some variances.
Jerry owns it. He's living on a 20-foot easement, and we okayed, I voted against it. His son built a house down there, and they used the same 20-foot easement.
If we've approved one since then that you voted for,
Huh?
and we've approved one since then that you supported.
Where's that? Jerry's son?
No.
I'm talking about on this 20-foot easement we're talking about, on a 20-foot easement. But up and down, you could only build 3 houses on a 6-foot unimproved easement.
So
And that's not a
I want to understand what the reason was for the variance. Was it because of the father and son, it's only 2 houses are going to be down there?
Well, it was going through somebody else's property too.
Well, on this issue, why are we, if there's already a 30-foot easement, why are we?
Because I think we require 60.
We're just trying to maintain what's already there. Why are we?
There's not a 60-foot easement going down there, going off of.
Right, there's a 30-foot easement, everybody purchased, so there's a 30-foot easement.
Yes.
And that's what's supposed to be used.
That's
Why
right.
are we just approving what's already there?
I don't have no problem with that.
I haven't understood what you just asked. There's a lot that's looking to divide into more lots
Okay.
on the 30-foot easement.
Yeah,
That's the
how
big-
many are being served by the easement now?
Everybody lives down there.
It's 13 lots on it now.
And
But it's split 2 ways.
Gotcha.
One goes one way, one goes the other.
But there's a certain section of it that.
And the first mile that he's talking about, pretty much first 3/4 mile, is basically through a field.
Hey, if they want to call a civil,
Yeah, if you don't,
There's not a
you got to
60-foot
pick it up for
easement.
6 minutes, okay?
you know, if they want to pay for a civil engineer to come and do a study and tell me that that road can handle the addition of those lots, hey, I got no beef. But it's not my place to fight that.
There, I mean, that's private.
That's probably, so there's currently 13 lots on a 30-foot easement. And how many are we talking about going to?
I mean, they're gonna add 2 more, but
Two
that's just the first 2. Once you start, there will be more, I promise you.
But we can't control that.
No, but you can control your zoning that you have in place.
But the whole easement down there is not up to par. You should have a 60-foot easement all the way from Benjamin Ann Road to the last lot. And that has never been a 60-foot lot going down the way you do.
I agree.
30-foot lot, everybody down there is working off a 30-foot easement.
Right.
The maximum of a 30-foot easement.
So you're looking at adding 2
I think what
lots.
you're saying is 2 wrongs don't make a right.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. We got an ordinance right now that says,
But I understand also you can do that.
One at a time, go ahead.
It just boils down to property rights. The man has property, he has a right to do, and I understand, you know, everybody's property now got split out somehow. And he's just trying to utilize his.
but at one point in time, the county done the 60-foot easement to protect the current people, protect their interests.
When was that even?
That easement was,
According to this.
Reggie probably knows more
What
than
was
I.
the question?
1978.
Yeah.
He asked me that.
Was that just one big large piece of property owned by one homeowner or one landowner?
No, they subdivided.
These folks?
They subdivided it.
Charles and Ann own that land down there. I own the excavator with another fellow, and this fellow, he gave him the first lot at the bottom of the hill to build that road going down there, out of these fields, down to the river. But all these roads is off the same thing. He had three lots there, and when you come down the hill, out the thing, there were 3 lots, 3 different sections of lots going up river. And I think all of them was 8 point something acres a lot. Charles and Ann sold them. The Wilsons bought the first lot. My brother and 2 of my first cousins bought the next lot. And then the third one, Mickey Nyland, he's dead and gone, he bought the last 8 acres. He is living on the second, the middle 8 acres. He's living on the last lot on that lot. On the 3 on that side.
So it's been split 3 times, it's been split again, and it's been split numerous times.
And the 2 acres, and the ones they want to split is the first ones. After you turn down, you come down to a key when it comes to the river. The road goes up river and it goes down river. And the 3 acre lots was up river. The Wilsons bought the first 8 acres, okay? And then where he's living, it was 8 acres, and it's been split up. And then the 8 acres next to where I'm at is still owned by Gary Nyland. But they all got the same easement going in there. And tell you the truth right now, probably all that land is underwater. You go down the bottom of the hill, walk down that 30-foot easement, you're probably wading water, and they'll vouch for that. It's probably underwater in the table. But anyway, it's a river lot, and I don't have no problem. I mean, there's a good many people live there. I love that. I got a lot further up river, and I'm 30-some feet further river. But anyway.
But your lot's not on this easement?
No, sir.
Okay. I guess my concern for the board is to consider as you make a decision that variances usually are connected with hardships. I'm not sure I see the hardship here. Can we go down, and I think one of the possible having them have the right to their properties, that we got to be careful about making variances without a hardship.
Is it based on a hardship?
Well, usually that's what variances are based on. If not, then you have a hard time in the future saying no to someone else if you just make the variances based on property owner's rights. And I'm not against what you're trying to do. It's like a lot of extra work on that stuff on that road, but I just want to be careful about the direction we're headed. You got a comment? I see you looking at me.
I'm just listening.
And if you read all this in here about if you need the river property and places like that, it's a little more than if you was on a high ground and where you have a big subdivision and all this kind of stuff. They do get a little break on this. But still further down on this same thing, will determine what they can do there and what they can't do. Okay?
Has there been any subdividing of this property? Let me just ask a question for the board to have to make a decision. Has there been any subdividing of this property since 1978? Is this was it only 4 or 5 lots and now there's 13 on the same 30-foot easement? Has there been any past history of adding additional lots to this 30-foot easement?
I would have to research it, I'm not sure.
You say it started as 3 8-acre basically parcels, and then some of those have been split?
When you come out the field, when you come down the hill out the field, you come down to the bottom, and the road dead ends at the Savannah River. There's 3 8-acres, 8-point-something acres going up river.
And many of those
That's what
been
we're
split.
talking about.
And many of those been split?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, if that's in order. Because there's 2 thoughts I would have. If there's a precedent that, 3 or 4 landowners on that 30-foot easement, and they've allowed it to this point, then you have a precedent, you don't want to go against that precedent, in my opinion. If you don't have that, if it's a 13 lots, I'd be careful about setting a precedent of doing something out of hardship.
But
you need a reason to do it, just my thought.
Okay. The lot that he's on, the lot that he lives on, that he's got his house on, he has to go through the Wilson's 30-foot easement to get his place. It's not created in another 30-foot easement. He has to go through his easement to get to his house. He's in the second.
Across the Wilson property?
The Wilson property is 8 acres.
I have an easement through their property.
Pardon?
I said I'd have an easement through their property.
Your property is the first property off the...
First property off the T, correct.
He got the first 8 acres.
I got you. Everybody else is behind.
He's got the last lot.
No, it comes down the hill to the river.
And
You got
he's
one
at the
property
bottom.
right at the end of the T. I have to drive across the corner of his, which he don't have a problem with it. His name's Keith Woods. I'm good with him.
Anyway.
He'll cross 3 landowners to get to his.
Yeah, the field owners.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and Keith too, the dam is his.
That's right. And we done use the easement as is anyway. Everybody that's took off.
You get Michael in the comment. You're welcome to make them until you get rid of mine. Do you have any input for the commission as far as the variance and guidelines that you'd like to consider as we're looking at this?
I think if you reference the staff report, there's a very detailed recommendation from staff.
Well, they're recommending it.
I'll cover some of that.
All right, go ahead, because they're recommending approval of it with the following stipulations. That the lots meet the requirement of AR2 zoning district. The use of the 2 and 3 shown on the proposed plat for rezoning should be used for personal recreation only.
Okay.
That means no buildings?
That was no B.
Okay, no buildings on those. Site development plans shall comply with the Effingham County Water Resource Protection Ordinance and Stormwater Management local design manual, and the wetland impact shall be permitted by USACE, so it's not. They're going to be looking at the wetlands, make sure there's no impact there. And subdivision shall be approved by the health department, so they can't subdivide it, they can't go to septic system. A lot of subdivisions are going to be limited to whether they can even get enough uplands to have a.
Okay, that is gonna be part of my motion this year. I'm gonna do away with stipulation number 2. You just read them, all right? And the rest of them, you just read them. Read them again and skip 2. Just read all 4 of them out.
Okay.
Y'all listen to these, but you don't have a copy of this.
All right, we're going to have a motion, if we get a second, we're going to have additional discussion, so I'm going to ask you not to call for a vote. First, we're going to follow the order that would do that, so we can clarify why we're leaving out number 2. But the motion that we're going to ask for then, that Mr. Reggie would like to make is as follows. Staff recommendation, which includes each lot shall meet the requirements of AR2 zoning district. And then item 3, site development plan shall comply with Effingham County Water Resource Protection Ordinance and Stormwater Management Local Design Manual. All wetland impacts shall be permitted by USACE.
United States Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay.
That's wetlands.
Yes, and then number 5, subdivision plat shall be approved by health department and zoning office. So the motion is to approve staff recommendations less item number 2. If we have a second, then we'll have additional discussion.
So that would eliminate.
Let's see if we get a second. Do we get a second for our motion? Yes.
I'll say.
All right, so we got a second, so let's discuss a little further before we vote. You want to comment?
No, I'm just saying that was, this will tell them, that will determine, 4 and 5 will determine what they can do with the 3 lots that they have down there. They have got to go through some more stuff, but we don't have any control over that. We don't have no control over the Corps of Engineers, and we don't have any control over the health department.
Okay.
Basically, I don't, if they went down there today, they wouldn't okay nothing down there. But what I'm saying, we don't have no control over that. That's the reason I'm doing it this way.
Okay.
What we have control over, we've already okayed, and that's the road going down there. And that's basically all we really okayed. And this is on everything that we okay. The 4 things that he just read to you, that's on everything that we okay in this building.
As a point of clarification, because I'm tired, I had a grandbaby born last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm on low fuel. I never did complete the public hearing. You probably noticed that.
Yes.
I didn't close it. So hang on to that motion. At a point of order, we'll come back and recognize that motion at second. Is there anyone else in this public hearing like to speak against this variance?
I got a question.
All right, come to the microphone and you can ask your question.
What was left out, the number 2? What was that?
I'll come back and call the motion. I need to close out the public hearing first. Give everybody a chance to speak against it. They want to speak against it.
I just want to clarify something about easements. I got an acre or 2, and Mr. Floyd said that it's your land, you ought to be able to do what you want to with it. Well, that's not the case in the county, and y'all know that.
I'm just saying, you're right.
That's what you said.
It is, you're right.
And my brother and my wife's brother and her divided a piece up that had easements across our property, and the zoning administrator, handlebars, I can't remember his name, but he had the handlebar mustache, wouldn't allow the plats because we didn't have but 1 entrance. And we had 3 pieces serving 1 easement, which was across all our land. And we jibber-jabber and got that worked out, but we shouldn't have to do that with what you just said. And I'm just going forward with some of the stuff.
I'm just trying
to clarify something.
I understand what you're saying. We can argue all this all night.
Oh, I know. I'm just wanting to know.
I believe that the property owner should have rights to his property.
And I agree that, but that's not the case.
One of the things that the commissioner trying to make is, I appreciate about this board, is they try to, as much as possible, to work with the landowners who own the land within reason. Because people we want you to be able to do with your property what you have.
We got some
We're here
parcels.
tonight as well, but that's what he's trying to say. It doesn't mean that everybody can do what they want to the property. Sometimes it does damage other people's
Because
property.
we got some parcels right now that don't have easements to it. We just go and across our own property to get to it.
But I think that we're trying to say that our goal is if we err, we can.
Probably you don't need no easement.
Well, the guy with the handlebar mustache wouldn't sign the plats we had.
Okay.
Well, he probably had a reason for it, I don't know about that.
But anyway, I was just wanting to clarify.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Right.
We're just trying to see if we're gonna err, we wanna err on the side of the property owner that owns the property. Hopefully we won't err, we're trying to make wise decisions, so we're trying to get all the information right. That's all I think Commissioner was trying to state there.
Okay.
I'll come back home, I'm sure.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak against this, Mayor Snyder? Yes, sir. You can turn the microphone, sir, to that person. State your name for the record as well, please.
My name's Jimmy Mitchell. I'm actually talking for this, but my question is they're splitting this up in 3 lots, am I correct?
We're not doing that tonight, no.
Okay,
No.
I mean, but that's the,
All we did was change it from AR1 to AR2,
I
and
see.
now we've okayed a 30-foot easement in there.
Okay,
All
all right,
we've done up to this,
so none of that's being done.
we haven't finished that yet. We haven't-
I'm just trying to get,
Contingent upon these things being met and getting approved possibly.
This is a variance to allow for subdivision. This item is to allow for subdivision.
It has to go through the hoop of being approved based on these.
Yeah.
items.
Yes, number 1 tells you that, number
Yeah.
so what we're doing tonight is approving the 8.99 acres to go into a AR2.
Yes, sir,
We already crossed that bridge.
Okay, all right, so what are we,
Hang on just a minute.
so tell me what we're
Let me
discussing.
clarify this. This is, and tell me what I'm wrong with this. This is gonna open the door for them to make application for subdividing the lots based on meeting certain things. If we vote this down, the door would not even be open to apply. Is that correct?
No, it's not
Right,
correct.
help us out.
Because
Teach them how.
you've already approved the zoning
We've
to
already
allow a
approved that.
lesser size lot. So the
But
zoning,
you have to have a variance of the 60 foot to be able to subdivide.
It's not a 60-foot road going
I
down.
understand, but our zoning requires it.
yes, sir.
So am I wrong with that? We're doing a variance that opens the door to subdivide it without having 60 foot.
That is correct.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not subdivided yet, but we are opening the door if they approve the variance.
Well, I did want to say something about the easement part. If you put a 60-foot easement, which it has been a 30-foot easement this whole time, if you put a 60-foot easement in, wouldn't that cause problems with the setbacks on the houses that's there now?
I can answer that to you. I can answer that to the subdivide and see what's there.
You see where I'm,
But all this will,
It could, that's another issue.
all this is not, in the subdivision, that was number 5, that subdivision plat shall be approved by the health department and the zoning office.
that's right.
This is after all this is taking place.
Okay.
You gotta get through this step first.
That's right.
So it still could get denied, what you're saying for subdividing.
And that's in here, 4 and 5, you read both of them.
Yeah.
Right.
But the health department and the United States Corps of Army Engineers will determine what they can put in there and how much of the wetlands that they can use.
Thank you, sir.
That is out of our.
That's what I wanted to do. I'm just trying to understand, that's all.
That's fine.
All right, thank y'all.
So Ms. Davis, I won't say it wrong, because you're the expert. This does not guarantee subdivision, but it does open it to allow it to be considered on
Yes.
the easement.
That's okay.
Does that make sense, sir? Just allows it to be considered, it didn't make it a subdivided property. Okay, anyone else want to speak against it tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second, so we'll have discussion among the commissioners before we vote. I just have a question, Mr. Reggie. Why would we not follow the zoning board and staff recommendation before you answer? I'd like to hear staff, zoning, can they tell me why they're recommending number 2? Is there a reason they're recommending number 2?
Because they don't think the man down there would take that. In other words, they already got one house on that 8 acres. There's a house already down there on that 1 acre.
Okay.
You know? But anyway, so, but we cannot control that. We zoned it to AR1, And then the rest of it is left up to the Corps of Engineers and the Health Department, what they can do with it.
All right.
You understand what I'm talking
I
about?
do understand. The point of
Okay.
clarification is it accurate that we cannot control that 2 and 3, that recommendation could be approved as part of this? Is that, answer that one first. Can we make that part of the motion?
Staff made that recommendation based on sketch or a plat that was presented to subdivide the property into
I
3
saw that in
parcels.
here.
At some point in time, this was prior to me taking it over, it was determined that if they divided it into 3 lots, 2 of those lots would not be a buildable lot, which would support a dwelling and a conventional septic system. So that's why that's.
Okay, and to Mr. Reggie's point, which is very good, do we need to make that determination or let the Corps of Engineers and Health Department make that determination?
That's.
We're basing it on, I mean, did they do any testing of the soil? I mean, did anybody, did they do, you don't know the.
His point is very valid, I don't know, sir.
So I can see what Mr. Reggie's saying is that somebody probably needs to do the work and see if it's buildable.
The onus is on the property owner to do so.
And just to bring you back around, Mr. Chairman, this is for a variance for the use of a 30-foot easement. So our concerns
Really and
really,
truly.
that's what we should be discussing.
That's what we
Is
do.
the 30-foot easement.
This is where, a bunch of this shouldn't even be on this one because we give them around, this was just for the 30-foot easement.
I
And
think
they
it
come up
helps.
something we already okayed.
Sure. My point is just clarifying, because I think we get confusion on what's the next step and what's this.
And I think that was staff's thinking, they were thinking beyond the zoning and creating lots that are unbuildable.
Okay. So they're recommending something that may be actually the recommendation of the Corps of Engineers.
That's
If
correct.
to it, they may not
That's
do any more than what they got right
That's
now.
exactly right.
Okay.
Just due diligence and beyond.
All right. So I can understand why you're wanting to leave number 2 out. You want to move that along to Corps of Engineers and Health Department to determine. The next point,
They will determine
if
what
there
that
is any
is.
subdividable lots, there may not be any. Gotcha.
That's exactly right.
Okay. That answers my question. Any other discussion?
They
Question?
may not be able to,
Huh?
they still may not be able to do it.
Right, that may never change. And as good as they say, it, they probably won't change. The roads and water, I'm not sure how you can get any more lots in the Corps and the Health Department. Okay, any questions or discussions? Close the public hearing. All in favor of the motion? I need to restate it. Everybody clear? Everybody clear on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, no?
No.
Okay, so we got 2, Mr. Loper and Mr. Floyd for, and against is Mr. Keeper. So the motion passes 2-1. Okay? Now the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by H. Ellis Wilson for a variance to retain the existing 30-foot easement for the minor subdivision of the property located 275 Charles Lane, map number 470, parcel number 3 in the 4th district. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor of approving the second reading, say aye. All opposed, no.
No.
Mr. Loper, Mr. Floyd voted yes, and Mr. Keeper votes no, and it carries. If I'm correct, we're now at the second reading of, when we tabled last time. Okay, very good. And Mr. Loper returned to the, make some notes, so. All right. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Carl and Elizabeth Kipling for variance to eliminate required buffers for the R3 zone property in the adjacent B3 commercial property located on Old Augusta Road, south of Highway 21, Jasper Village, map number 478, parcel 2 in the 5th district. We made a little change the last time, so we have to do the second reading, so we don't necessarily need to do another discussion.
That's right.
We got a motion to approve the second reading, we'll move forward.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, to approve the second reading, have a second. Second, Mr. Floyd, all in favor of approving the second reading, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. You step up here for now.
Stephanie informed me that on the way.
Item number 6, consideration to approve to authorize the chairman to sign the sanitary sewer water extension submittal form to the Environmental Protection Division, EPD, for Jasper Village located on Old Augusta Road South. And we have that on the last agenda as well, I believe. Okay, this is for discussion tonight. We also asked, do you want to go make some comments first?
No, sir, not unless you want me to.
Well, we had asked one of the things we tabled for was to get a water and sewer modeling report from Public Works at UM. I think they're here tonight, they can give us some information.
Good evening. We have moved forward with water model. The water model, the GIS information for the pipe size in this area shows 16-inch. The flow based on the model does not match that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is there's some question about what size the line is that is actually extended out in this area towards where Jasper Village would be.
And if you repeat that in my lay terms, yeah, so I make sure I understand. The flow did not match what you would expect to find with 16-inch pipe.
We did a flow test in the field, and if the model is built with an 8-inch main, the flow test in the field and the flow test from the model are very similar. If we put a 16-inch main in that matches what the GIS shows, the flow would be much higher, nearly enough to meet the requirements of the subdivision. And I'm trying to not get this twisted around. A flow test at the Exley track indicates much higher flow. And so we think one of two things. One, pipe size in the GIS, which was put into the model, is inaccurate. Or two, some type of restriction, possibly partially closed valve or something along those lines. So on the water side, we're going to do some field investigation, which we have not done yet, to see if we can confirm what the issue is, so that we can align what we think is there with what the model shows. Other piece of that puzzle is to look for as-builts so we can confirm the pipe size. So on the water side, that's where we're at. I think we can have a resolution on the water side. I think we can have an answer on the water side within the next couple of weeks. On the, and there's more to the model in terms of a booster station, tentative recommendation, but those issues not necessarily related to the proposed Jasper Village, but information that would be system-wide improvements. Moving to the sewer side, we have submitted a request to EPD to increase the plant's permit from 0.375 million gallons a day to 0.50 million gallons a day. The average plant flow today is very near the 0.375. We don't have much more room for growth. There's already been subdivisions that have been approved that are not fully built out. So without additional capacity in the plant, it would be concerning to approve additional development. If the EPD approves the plant, and it's the plant capacity, the physical plant is not an issue. It's what we do with the reuse water. The effluent from the plant goes on to a spray field. That limit of that spray field is capped at each one of these different permit levels, and the intent is that you continue to build reuse customers. And I think that you've done that. I think we've shown that. So I feel relatively comfortable that we'll get moved to the next permit level. If the permit the plant to 500,000 gallons a day, it'll add, in round numbers, about another 400 houses. So if we can get that approved, plant capacity is good. We still need to be planning. It'll be here before you know it, but we'll continue moving through the next steps. So then the other side of that is collection system capacity, and we submitted only today a proposal to update the sewer model, but we think we need to do some drawdown tests on the lift station. I think we need to get some fresh data. So we submitted a proposal, but as I said, that was done today. But we have some information from our operations side. It's not engineering data, it's operations data. And it would appear that the collection system will handle the flow from the proposed Jasper Village. We certainly would prefer to make that recommendation based upon engineering as opposed to our operations data. The field collection or the drawdown test, the field data, probably a 2 or 3 week process to get that information. So I think we're moving forward, we're making progress, but we don't have solid answers yet. The water side, we need to do some more field work, and we're just getting started on the collection side. So I think it's still a little premature to make a recommendation. Certainly, if you feel comfortable with building out to what water is available now, the other side of that is, do you have enough sewer capacity? And I think probably can make that work.
Within the next couple of weeks, we'll figure out if the infrastructure matches the model.
I think on the water side, in 2 weeks, I can commit to understanding that. I honestly don't know how long it'll take EPD on the permit. We send something to them. Greenbriers is another one that's not related to this, but anyways, about weekly, we try to send something to follow up and ask them if they need anything and keep that moving. But I honestly can't even make an estimate of at this time what EPD, the length of time to expand the permit to the next phase.
Let me ask a couple questions, get my mind around a couple of things. It looks like we're looking at this proposal, 210 additional connections. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Chief D, not the part. About 210 connections. Okay. First thing I hear for the board to consider tonight, because I'm pro getting this construction, doing things we need to do to increase our tax base and get the rooftops and get the other businesses going here. So, my heart is trying to see how we make this happen. Okay. With that, if you're telling me we're already at capacity, we've got to expand our system. He's already making an application for 125, which is 125,000, roughly 420 hookups, which will cover this and some additional growth.
Right.
But we've got to expand our capacity if we want to consider any more subdivisions or anything. So it sounds to me like item 1, sewage, we need to go ahead and move forward with whatever we got to do to increase it and improve it. In my opinion, for the sewer side tonight, we can't say no and say we're going to build it in 2 years. To me, we need to get a part of our budget. Does that make sense? So I'm going to make that out there first. So we got to get the sewage squared away. I know you're already looking at some changes to the SCADA and things and upgrades and repairs, and then we're applying for this. So I think that's going to be answered. Certainly before I'd be here for Mr. Allen later about the things that we tie in. It will be 3 months or 6 months or 18 months. That will help us know how long we've got to complete the process to have that ready for you. Now moving to the water. We have the flow if we have a 16-inch pipe, so it's going to be a call. Hopefully you're going to find there's a problem and that the GIS is correct. That there's a valve that's partially, you might speak to this, Charles, because you're very familiar with that line there. But hopefully we're going to find the flow is going to be resolved by finding what the construction is. Okay. Assuming that's true, we have a water pressure issue. Is there going to be a fire issue, Clint, if they build these things, or do we have other ways to, I guess that's the biggest issue, isn't it? Is water pressure for fire suppression?
The fire flow is what's in question.
Yeah, is that the only real question, that the showering and the potable water for the, is not the question, we got the flow. Can you help us understand if this is going to be an issue for us if we don't have a booster station in place at the time when it's built, or do we have the capacity to have tankers and so forth to warm our ISO?
And just to clarify up front, that is Rankin's Fire Service Delivery Area. I just wanted to preface that.
Sure.
With that being said, that we have long-term improvements planned, and until that is met, I mean, we do automatically aid them. They do the same for us. So we do have tankers that are available if they were needed. So I think in the meantime, this shouldn't be an issue. Not from the fire department.
And the fire suppression issue, it would not be an issue if we approved to move forward, as long as we had the flow to meet the construction, we can handle the fire suppression issues too.
That's correct. Based on the information that was provided to us through the flow data, I think that would be correct.
Okay. Toss, do you have any information about that? Is it, you think it's a 16-inch line? Is there a chance there's an issue on the GIS or just the valve, or I just like to know?
I would assume it's a valving or some other issue. The line was installed the last 3 years.
So we know it's a 16-inch
It was
line.
bid as a 16-inch line. It was installed. I'd assume I was under the impression that we were doing some form of internal inspections on that line as it went in. And I know that you all had a contract with a separate engineering firm for inspections and finalizing of that. I would assume that someone looked at the actual line that went in. It was bid to be installed as a 16-inch line.
So you're suggesting that firm's still in business, we may have some repercussions?
I'm just saying that you all contracted with another firm to do inspections on it, but.
I think it was just an input at GIS possibly. So.
Yeah.
Well, no, GIS is right. Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think Mr. Coon's saying if the flow data doesn't match what GIS says, which is what I'm saying should be correct, it should be up.
It's a 16, so we're going to have to see if we can find what's the obstruction and why we don't have the flow.
And it could be, I think there's some valves in the Park of Commerce as it comes through there.
All right, so it helps me to understand how we can possibly support moving forward. We just need to be aggressive with our agenda to make sure we have the booster. They're still looking at this year, saying
And Mr. Chairman, I will say this, that the data that we submitted to EOM for their review was based on field test data, not model data. So that is where we obtained it from, was simply flowing the hydrant.
Gotcha. And when do you think construction would begin on this, tentatively, and when would it be?
I think construction, they wanted to start in August, so immediately, as soon as we can get all the permits in place.
Next year?
Last year.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're certainly ready to begin construction, and Mr. Malik's here. I'm pretty sure he said a year roughly between the time construction starts and the first occupancy of the structure.
Yeah, 1 year.
Should it build all 210 at one time, and you'll start filling them up after 1 year?
Correct. We'll have our first move-ins after a year. We'll wrap up the project in 2.5 years.
Okay. Any question, discussion of the board?
So you're saying it's good?
My heart is, I don't have a vote on this, but my heart is, I'll speak my mind, that it's something we need to do.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, we need to address the upgrades to the sewer. We need to go ahead and plan our tank or our tower, what we gotta do. These are the things that if we do, they pay for recreation.
Right.
Projects that we wanna do, they pay for things that we wanna do. Some of the things we wanna do for our community, they don't generate revenues. But if we do things that generate revenues, we get rooftops. We get those restaurants that will bring sales tax, get sales tax to bring. So I think making an investment in the right areas is a good choice for the board. That's where my heart is. That's my part. Is there no discussion? I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Find where we at. It's item number 6. Motion by Mr. Keeper, second by Mr. Deloach, to approve alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And carries.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. So one of the things we're going to need to do, and you're already on board, this is an action point of that motion, is we'll continue the modeling. We want to get some costs for that modeling recommend and some costs so that we can look at our resources and start moving toward upgrading both of our systems.
Yeah, if I could just make interject one thought. I really think that the way to increase the plant capacity over time is through reuse. I think that's going to be the easiest path. It's the path that EPD is going to most favor. We don't discharge into a river. We discharge into a spray field. I'm not saying they wouldn't allow for an expanded spray field, but finding reuse customers is the key. We're working on that towards with ECP. But I say that to say this, that the subdivision ordinance requires reuse if it's within so close. I think moving forward that it's going to be beneficial if funding is available to extend some reuse lines so that we're ensure that we're getting reuse into these new subdivisions. And that's how you're going to increase your reuse. Part of the way that you're going to increase your reuse. And so I think maybe some planning where the development goes so that the county can be extending reuse lines to those areas is going to be beneficial down the road.
Yeah, they want to see that, but also we're going to include ECP in that application as well.
ECP can be a large piece of it.
We do have the concern they had chemically down below the levels. So we are there. So now it's a matter of we're trying to schedule some additional information to get with them, and there's other parts of this puzzle, but we hope we can use that, which would maybe be an opportunity to go back for even additional capacity.
I think it will be, and I think we need to do that. I'm not discouraging it at all, but I don't know if EPD is going to see that as putting all our eggs in one basket or not. And so that's right. I think a couple pronged approach, and we will be in the long run will be solid.
So as you're modeling and looking at that reuse, if you could define for us where we need to put some investment to get the best bang for EPD of reuse as well. My feeling is that ECP will end up using all our reuse if we want to.
That's right.
But we've got to show we have another alternative.
I think so.
To get.
And we've got a few of those we've been discussing.
Right.
Exactly.
Just got to keep it moving forward.
Thank you
so much. Excellent. Appreciate it. That concludes our old business. Move to new business. Item number 1, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Effingham County Industrial Development Authority and the Effingham County Board of Commissioners to allow IDA employees independence on the county's dental and vision insurance.
Good evening, Vicki Dunn, HR Director. IDA has requested that they be allowed to participate in our dental and vision insurance. Currently, they do participate with us on the medical insurance. Cost will be paid by the IDA upfront, in monthly installments. There would be no cost to the county for the IDA to join the county's insurance, and there's no funding required by the county. Staff recommends that we allow the IDA employees and family members to join our dental and vision insurance plan.
Ms. Vicki has just mentioned alternative number 1. Any questions or discussion?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Alternative number 2.
Oh, include family members. Okay.
Yes, sir. We're already including family members on our medical as well.
It'll mirror the counties.
Very good. All right, so alternative 2, I apologize, is what she's requesting, allow IDA employees and family members to join our dental and vision insurance plan. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternate number 2.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Deloach, to approve alternative number 2. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
Number 2, consideration to approve to accept a deed consisting of 1,320 acres, more or less, lying between Old River Road. I'm sorry, 1.32 acres. Lying between Old River Road and Van Road, the Effingham County Industrial Development Authority. I think we're facts on it. I think we're facts on it. I got a couple of questions. One, did we take the roads inside the industrial authority? They're not our roads. Okay. And secondly, EOM, I noticed, I believe they said we haven't had an inspection of that portion.
They have inspected it since your packets went out, and that material's in your extra material.
Well, it does meet the,
They did recommend acceptance.
okay. So they're recommending, okay. So we don't have the roads. Why, I'm just wondering, why do we want the entrance? You want to help us with that?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
It sounds like it's a maintenance concern that we have with the board of commissioners. We have plenty of maintenance concerns.
It's your job. This is Ted Corellis, I represent the Development Authority. I think it's a little bit of a misnomer on here because it highlights it as an entrance, and it is, but it actually connects Old River Road with Van Road, which y'all both own. They're public roads. I suspect what's labeled on here as an entrance, I mean, it's been there. I think y'all probably put it in years ago. You maintain it. I think it's a county road already.
Why you tell me what the county road?
Pardon me?
You asked if the road, the infrastructure within the industrial park, if we accepted those roads.
When you have it yet?
No, we have not.
Okay.
And it all,
But he's saying that we do maintain and own Van Road and Old River Road,
And
which
this is just
is
the
where
piece in
his
between.
property connects to.
That's where, yeah, I think.
but from me, I went out there to look at it. I mean, it looks just like Van Road and Old River Road. I mean, it's 110 foot wide. I think it was all put in at the same time. I mean, it's the only way some people can get back who live on Van Road, unless you go down and cut back. So it's not just an entrance road. It also connects to public roads that you've already got, if that makes sense.
It's not very long.
No, and
Short road.
it is different from, I mean, on the other side of the interstate, the entrance into the industrial park on the other side of the interstate on Old River Road is, I mean, the county owns Old River Road and then the Development Authority picks it up and comes straight in. This is a little different because it's between two public roads.
And that's the part you're looking at us taking.
Correct.
So that would just clean that up.
Correct.
In other words, if the development authority wanted to close it, you might think that we would have an issue.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Which
yeah.
tells you we probably
Yeah.
would take it.
Yeah.
Just connect the two roads that we already have.
I think legally, and I mean, I would defer to Mr. Newberry. I think legally you probably already own it. I mean, you maintain it, you do it. I mean, this is more formalizing that you officially own it, if you will.
All right, any other questions, discussion? Have a motion?
Make a motion we approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion to approve alternative one is made by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brian Casting, you may know Brian, is with Port Fresh.
Thank you.
Their industry is back in here, so this will help, hopefully court more industry.
Mr. King, y'all need to talk about the other issue before y'all get out of here tonight. The amnesty.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man.
Item number 3, consideration to approve a letter of termination of the City of Guyton Fire Service. Want me to take that one for you? Mr. Chris? Want me to take that one for you? We met with Guyton.
No, I wasn't in that meeting, no.
You want that meeting? It's got you on here as presenting.
Shouldn't have to be back.
That's it. I'll take it for you then, okay?
Please do.
We met with the fire chief and with Guyton and our fire chief Clint Hodges and talked about the need to service incorporated by our fire department, and they are putting it on their agenda to have a motion to terminate this contract at December 31st. And we told them we'd like to do the same thing and eliminate those payments from now to the previous termination date. So it was a good meeting and a good result for us. So we need a motion to issue a termination order. Yeah, that's a separate thing that they understand. That's for the settlement, so it's being the equities. This is just the termination of it.
Okay.
So the alternative one is to approve the letter of termination, which I'm trying to prepare, correct? Trying to get prepared, okay. Have a motion to approve alternative number one?
I make a motion to approve alternative one, which states terminating our fire service agreement with the city of Guyton on December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper. For alternative number one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number four, consideration to approve to accept the proposal from EOM for completion and submittal to EPD of the county's 2018-2019 National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, Phase 2, Municipal Separate Stormwater, MS4 permit, annual report.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. Portions of Effingham County became a Phase 2 community as a result of the 2010 census. The county is required to submit annually to the EPD a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, MPDES, Phase 2 Municipal Separate Stormwater, MS4 permit report. Previously, the county's in-house engineer would complete and submit the report to the EPD with the information provided by the Ecological Planning Group. As EOM are now contracted to provide engineering services to the county, they will compile and submit the county's 2018-19 annual report with the information provided by EPG for the fee of $3,700. As the county attorney has reviewed and approved the proposal and funding is included in the current budget, so I recommend alternative one. Any questions?
Any questions or discussion? Do we have a motion for alternative number one?
Make a motion to approve alternative number one. Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach, to approve alternative number one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries.
Thank you.
Item number five, under new business, consideration to approve to not renew the contract, or table that, I'm sorry.
Number
Item
5
and 6 are table.
That's your table.
Yep, so we'll move to item number 7. Item number 7 is consideration to approve to authorize the chairman to sign a PDM project payment request for the FEMA-approved hazard mitigation plan update.
Good evening. What this is for was the hazard mitigation plan that FEMA and GMA recently just gave their nod of approval for. This is for the reimbursement back to the county. We've paid out, we've done our in-kind match, as well as we've paid our grant writer, or excuse me, our plan writer. So this is just our submittal to them for the reimbursement that come back to us.
More approval reimbursement. Any question, discussion? Do you have a motion for alternative number 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries. Item number 8, under new business, consideration to approve a proposal and authorize the chairman to execute an agreement with Husky Gay Bell for design services for the Clarence E. Morgan Complex Gymnasium. And I think we all know that was about, we had a meeting and we talked about it coming out with the contract. If there's any other questions or discussions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve, okay? Number one, alternative number one. Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that carries. Item number 9, under new business, consideration to approve a grant from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, GOHS, for the Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Interim Finance Director. We have a consideration to approve a grant from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. This is a $20,000 reimbursable grant. It's to be used for items determined by the sheriff for traffic education and meetings. So we pay it and then we request reimbursement from them.
No matching?
No matching.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Alternative 1 is approved as submitted. Do you have a motion for alternative number 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative number one.
Motion by Mr. Keeper, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Item number 10, consideration to approve to establish a Georgia Fund 1 bank account local government investment pool, LGIP, for the special tax district.
And what we're asking is to establish another bank account. We have 3 currently with LGIP that service general fund, sanitation, and SPOST. We would like to set up another one for the special tax district so that we can invest some of those funds until we need them for operating expenses to earn some additional interest.
I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
It said we had 121,000 last year.
That's correct.
Most says we're going to earn 44,000. Did it mean 440,000?
No, this would be 40,000 just on this account alone. This new account.
Okay, so
Last year we had 120,000. If we add this 4th account, we'll be looking at close to 300,000.
Okay, that's what I got. I thought
Yes.
something, 121 was what you earn. If we do this, we'll get 44,000. I thought that was
Additional. Yeah, just for this account. And then what we plan to do is look at all of those accounts moving forward to move money and invest it until we need to pull it back for operating, which is why you'll see the extra increase in all of the accounts, but 40,000 in this new one.
Okay, very good. And I'm sure it keeps the county a lot easier to have the different funds with their own
It does.
local, yeah. Okay, any other questions, discussions? So alternative
Number 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Sure. Yeah, we got a few more items. We'll take a 5-minute break, use the restroom, get something to drink, and be right.
I was trying to